Nu, חבר'ה. Shmuley Litvin, are you there? Maybe you'll start with a nigun, Zeppes, bis de Elam reinkommen. Shmuley. Nu? Rav Litvin.
Coming right up.
Are you there? All right. Okay. חבר'ה, בזון לחיים, חבר'ה. לחיים, לחיים. לחיים. מלח, תגיד לחיים, מלח. ברוך אתה אדינו עלינו, חלום שקט בואי. לחיים, לחיים. G'tiyamtev, Chassidim, G'tiyamtev. We all know that you'd be Tammuz. Several times the Rebbe spoke, was a Siche, Tov Shel Lamed Zayin, Shlach, and then there was a Likut from that, and Kolosir's Chelik Yud Ches. The Rebbe explains, everyone knows, that why Yud Beis Tammuz comes before Shivosa B'Tammuz, the Tainis. And the Rebbe said every month has a special day in the month. L'moshel Pesach is the special day of the month of Nisan, and the Tishrei. So every month is a special month. What is the special day of the month of Tammuz? The Rebbe said Yud Beis Tammuz. But the Rebbe asked, but we all know there was Shivosa B'Tammuz, and it's called the Tzemar Revi, and we know that this is the name of the month, the Tzemar Revi, that's the day. So the Rebbe explains that Yud Beis Tammuz came before Shivosa B'Tammuz to be Megale. That the pnimius of Shivosa B'Tammuz, what is the pnimius of Shivosa B'Tammuz? It's really Yud Beis Tammuz. Because the inif of Shivosa B'Tammuz is Yehov Choyam Elas Hasel Simcha. That's the whole point of Shivosa B'Tammuz. Now, right now, is Managolus, is we see the Gvures. But the pnimius is really the love of the Eibusha to the Yid. That's the pnimius of Shivosa B'Tammuz. Therefore, came Yud Beis Tammuz before Shivosa B'Tammuz in the last, the Dera Achren, to be Megale, that's the pnimius of Shivosa B'Tammuz. At the inif of the Beis Tammuz, the pnimius of Shivosa B'Tammuz. So the Rebbe himself speaks about Chof Ches Sivan, Tov Shemem Tes. The Rebbe himself said that Chof Ches Sivan is Keach. And therefore Chof Ches Sivan is the day before Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, because Tammuz is the meaning from Mekabel. And Sivan the meaning from the Nisan. So the Mele, the Rebbe says clearly as the meaning from Chof Ches Sivan is right before Tammuz. So today's Farbrengen, we're going to Farbrengen on Chof Ches Sivan to know that Chof Ches Sivan is the Keach that gives us the strength and the Keach how to deal with the Gimel Tammuz, how to look on Gimel Tammuz, what is it true, how we should approach Gimel Tammuz. What does Gimel Tammuz mean to us? So Bashgocha Protis, Chof Ches Sivan, was given 3, 4, 5 days before Gimel Tammuz. I'm not sure exactly how many days. I'm coming from another Farbrengen, so I can't count anymore. But it's a few days before Gimel Tammuz, not too many days, right? So Chof Ches Sivan comes before Gimel Tammuz to tell us that Chof Ches Sivan gives us the Keach. And especially today, 30 years after Gimel Tammuz, we need a lot of Keach. How to approach Gimel Tammuz. What does Gimel Tammuz mean to us in the right way? So before we start, I would like to ask, we have with us one Chassidishe German who has all the credit for Chof Ches Sivan, because he was the first one who ever made a celebration and made an issue of Ches Sivan. Nobody ever did anything before this in German. The Chassidishe German, and he used to be the one who used to be the typesetter of all the Hanochas Belahak, all the Sichos for Rebbe. He used to see days and nights. Those who remember, the Rebbe used to have farbrengens after farbrengens after farbrengens. There was not a minute to breathe. And he would typeset all the Sichos to make it ready from Shabbos till Tuesday. It was ready to go. And then the weekdays farbrengens and it was literally bligvul, and he did Leilis Kayomim, Rav Melech Gurevitch. So we would like to ask Rav Melech to open up his mic, or maybe whoever is in charge, Litvin, are you there? To make sure you open up his mic, and Rav Melech, tell us a story. What happened at your wedding with the Chof Ches Sivan story? Melech, no? Zog l'chaim. Arav Melech, Shlita.
noch einmal, לחיים.
יותר בקול, לא שומעים
You
אותך.
hear me?
Now we hear you,
לא שומעים
yeah. A little
אותי.
hecher. אתה יותר בקול.
לחיים. Okay, I have to do it in English.
English,
right?
yeah. You live in America, I think.
Okay.
No?
Okay. It's not my best language, so maybe some words I'm not going to be that best, but I'll try to do my best.
No worries.
Okay, here's the thing. I came to the Rebbe. What?
Go ahead.
What did you say?
Nobody said anything. Go ahead.
Okay, I came to the Rebbe as a young. I was 15 and a half years old, and Reb Mendel right away gave me reshus to come to the Rebbe, and then right away put me in Ola Torah. And that was in Tovshin Lamed Vov, Erev Chayel Lamed Vov. Then the next year, and this is the point, the next year in Tovshin Lamed Zayin, in Chof Zayin Oder, passed away one of my best friends who was in yeshiva. His name was Avremi Goldman. And he passed away because in those days, we didn't have this kind of telephones that we have now. This, what is it? This, you see what I'm talking about? Anyway, so we used to go on the street to call, and he went to call somebody because every Friday afternoon we used to go on Miftzayim, in Manhattan and other places. So he had a family, and the family had a baby born. So he wanted to call to go to basically to the secretary to name. But while he was there on the telephone talking, 3 Schwarze came with a knife, and they stuck knives in his body. The next day, he was taken to the hospital. Whatever, within a day and a half, he passed away. He passed away in Chof Zayin. Then this is Lamed Vov and Lamed Zayin. Okay. Then in Mem Hey, I was already working a bunch of years as typing in the Sichos and all of that. Reb Meir Harlig, also the one who helped me to find a shidduch. Anyway, before Purim of that year, Lamed Hey, I became a chosim.
Mem Hey.
And then after Pesach, Mem Hey, I was told by my shver that Sunday, which is Chof Zayin Sivan, that's the day we're going to get married. But it became black in my head. What should I do? And because I got a brocha from the Rebbe for the shidduch and all of that, I didn't want to write to the Rebbe negative things. So I decided I'm going to go from upstairs. When we were working on the Sichos over there, I decided to go downstairs and try to talk to some older bochim or yungelite to see if somebody can help me. To make a long story, one of them told me, listen, because your marriage is at night, so that's beginning of Chof Ches, and Chof Ches is a very important day because about over a year ago, came out Igros Kodesh of the Freilich Rebbe, and there we have the date of when the Rebbe came. And he says to me the following: until then, we all knew that the Rebbe came in Sivan, but we didn't know the date. And then when this when this Igros Kodesh came out, maybe some people learned that, but most of the people did not, and most of the people does not farbrengen this day. So they asked me one thing. They asked me, hey, you're going to write the Azmone for the Chasana, right over there, that Chof Ches is the date when the Rebbe came, and that's going to become a special date for everybody. So I did it, and I have a picture of that. Let me just show. Okay, here is it. Just to say, here's what I'm writing. Yom Bei Kvetel Shesad Shlita LeArtzis Abris. On top, the Rebbe came with a Oniyah. So this is like Oniyah, and this is the Aleph is my name Elimelech, and the Pei is my wife, and the Gimel is Gurevitch. You see the Gimel over here. Okay. Yeah. This was the idea. It was my idea how to do it, and this was publicly in Crown Heights and by other mishpachas from both sides, and it became public. And now you, Yosel, on that day when I had the bar mitzvah, when I had the the Chasana, and when I had the Chasana, you had a gathering with Bochim in 770.
Right.
But people also came to the Chasana just because of that.
Uh-huh.
And then again, Reb Meir
Harlig.
Heralding with the Shidduch. When I came back, I think he also came to the Chasana. Then he told me a few days later, he says, Melech, starting next year, we're going to make with that very big holidays. So I said, okay. And by the way, you're talking about the years and whatever. I'm just saying, I know about it, but not so much, because in Mentes, Katzman Mentes, I went already on Shlichus. And I mean, I got something in mail here and there, but you know, I wasn't in some 70 for the farbrengens the way I was until then. Okay. Hey, if any other questions, let me know.
Yashakoyach Melech, we really appreciate it. Very geschmack. And we'll go to our next speaker. We have a lot of speakers, a lot of farbrengens, and then later we'll farbrengen the whole night. So we have a lot going on. But before, we do have Arav Label All-Time, and I'm not sure if he's already on. If Rav Label All-Time is on, we would like to ask him to say L'chaim and open his camera. If he's not there, I don't see Rav Label All-Time. So if Rav Label All-Time is not there now, we will move on to our next speaker. We have with us a dear friend and a very famous member of the original Vaad L'Siddur, who was the leader and the MC of all the farbrengens that we did in those years in 770. Rabbi Yesel Katzman, Rav Katzman Shlita, Olaska Yosel Selachaim, of Farbrengen Kiaravaya Teva Love. Rabbi Katzman, please. Can you please open Katzman's? Okay, go ahead, Katzman.
Chaim.
Chaim, Rabbi Katzman, Chaim.
We're speaking in English. That's the rule?
That's the rule. What should I do? Let me get
I think I once already said, I mean, I don't understand what kind of mechutna I'm here. I can only give you the opposite angle than Melech. But before I even go to that, I once said by these farbrengens, the only reason I accept and I agree is because a few years ago, on Simchas Torah, after 48 hours of a gesunden 48 hours, a bocher grabs me in the Sukkah of 770, and he asks me, tell me something. Und ich hab mir die chassidische, schwänzische Stick, I said, dreh mich in Kopf nicht, ich hab dir nicht was zu sagen, what am I going to tell you? Whatever I can tell you, you already know. Everything is published, everything is printed. The bocher grabbed me by my neck, and he just told me in very simple words, if you won't say, I won't know. And you know what? He got me. So Yoske asks me to speak. Ehrlich reden. Ich mein, I'm a dear friend. I like him. Und ich hab stark an Neu gehabt to your earlier Farbrengen I listened to. I don't know why you need anybody else. That was everything. You covered all the bases. My experience with Chof Ches Sivan is punktverkehrt wie Melech's. I had a baby the night of Chof Ches Sivan. And my daughter was born, and I came Monday morning. It was Monday, I believe. It was Monday. I came Monday morning, and I got an aliyah by the Rebbe's minyan. And I named the baby Chana. Noch ein Davnen, I don't remember who, but some of the bochrim came over to me. Oh, you named her Chana because of Chof Ches Sivan. Ich gucke amon, was ist das Chof Ches Sivan? I had no idea what in the world he's talking about. And then later on, yeah, hat mir gesagt, versteht mir, gemacht der Tummel, only last year they published the Yiddishkeit, and there said the date. the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote to Reb David Moshe Rabinovich, and he thanks him and he asks him to pass on the message to his son, who apparently was the lawyer who took care of organizing the papers and the visas, the permits. And later I heard that sie gewesen auf Zaklikovsky Farbrengen. But the following year, I'm just giving you my personal how I fell into Chof Ches Sivan. It's poshet der Rebste für die Welt. The following year, Chof Ches Sivan was Shabbos, and they organized a nice farbrengen for Motzei Shabbos. The whole story with Rebbe and Rebbetzin, okay, I'm not going to repeat what everybody's saying. And in the evening, at night, Label Posner, if I remember correctly, was the Zechrenes guy. He told the Zechrenes how he remembers when the Rebbe came. And Bashgocha Protis, that night I had Wachnacht for my next son. No, I had to be up, so I came to 770 to the Farbrengen. This is how I got to know Chof Ches Sivan. It's today. It's so bepashtus. Today we know everything, and everything is recorded, and everything is published. Amol hat man gar nicht gewusst. I heard of such geschmack biurim Yoske. I hope you're going to share it. All the biurim, why we weren't zeicha to know until it was published, and why the Rebbe didn't make a whole big thing of it. Derech Hagav, I heard a very geschmacke word that Chof Ches Sivan, the Rebbe established. I mean, it's not like Yem Bei Hiskil Tnufu Chadosho. This is in hafotzas hamaayonos. It's like it's a monumental, major day in the history of Lubavitch, of Torah, of Yiddishkeit, of Moshiach. Gwaldige inyonim. It's not a Chag HaTzoleh. We are not celebrating. Look, what is this Chaposhte Sache? HaTzoleh from our Rebbe, from such a terrible time, like Tess Oder Sheni, the HaTzoleh from Frierdiker Rebbe. Also, what do we celebrate? America is nicht anders. Chof Ches Sivan, hafotzas hamaayonos. It's a different, the whole chagige, siposhet negeya in the kavonas habriye. There's the letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe about Matan Torah was not in America. Who was it written to? The Chagav. It was written to the Rebbe. A whole aricha is how the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that it's not the correct quote from the Alter Rebbe. Matan Torah was all over the world. It's not stam a day. And it manifests itself, like mentioned before, Yoske mentioned before, it's a few days before Gimel Tammuz. Today, Chof Ches Sivan has a different meaning. There's no question. Das ist poshet a refuah lifnei hamake. Even Gimel Tammuz allein, der hayem yem that the Rebbe says, that krechts, it's a talk from krechts. A simple krechts, a filo von a nicht gut gashmi, is a tshuva loa. In the minor Vaad Or Vechom, technically, the Rebbe says the same thing. What is kosis? You live in America, Meferish. It's very clear from the Tekna Minor. He is comparing the Mesiras Nefesh from Rusland to the Mesiras Nefesh of America. America, the free country. Dorten is do alt. We have Gashmias, we have Ruchnias. Und she's do a kosis, she do a krechts. Bis zu brochen. The Rebbe actually, in the Lekutei Sichos, the Rebbe uses this lotion, bin a kesher to this nekuda of a krecht, a zubrochenkeit, kosis. Both these things come together. Und die zubrochenkeit zog sich heraus in Amerika. There's so much depth. See, though, as they feel, again, I'm not interested in saying taters. I'm saying, by me, it's coming from my emotions. you get emotional. It's a special day. Was mir Segen gewesen. We are all, every one of us, owe everything to this day. See, those in America, those all over the world, the whole hafotzas hamaayonos, the way it is, could not have been. I mean, the Rebbe used to, I believe the Rebbe told some people, they asked him about making aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. And one of the explanations, of course, amongst many, and we don't know, I mean, the Nekuda Apnimis wissen wir doch nicht. But what the Rebbe gesagt, one of the reasons was that from America, he's able to do the hafotzah that he cannot do from other countries. It was a very clear America, Matnteire, in America, mitzadi gulim, ein leirosh, ve'ein leisof, sin ishtokim mailo, sin ishtokim mato, is Matnteire, is in Chatzi Kadra Elyon, Punkt in Chatzi Kadra Tachten, and those is America. Und Chof Ches Sivan. So first, we didn't even know about it. And finally, ich losen de alle hesberim. I hope Yoske will say it. I heard it from him earlier today. Poshet Geschmack.
I have no hesberim, nothing.
No, Poshet given Geschmack zu hören. And it's Poshet beautiful biurim. But the nekuda is that the Rebbe gave us something that first we didn't know about, and then all of a sudden, it's a chibig gekehrt. Hofach al pio. The Rebbe allein soll geben a kuntres. It's nicht a kuntres von siches. Aber dort nicht do siches. This is a kuntres about what is Chof Ches Sivan. Was ist Chof Ches Sivan? Tnufo chadosh. I mean, das ist der Rike. It's a chibig gekehrt a naye meisin achone zu Moshiach. And it happens a few days before Gimel Tammuz, especially we're approaching 30 years. Mi milel, mi pilel, mi ken doch mi shuge werden. Is the snake tzoves, the battle that you have, the torn heart that you have, the torn mind that you have. How could it be? And then the Rebbe tus bewiesen. He showed us. Vayokom der chodosh, nit was leyoda es Yosef. Leyoda, tadivos leyoda. They mamesh, mizedem Rebbe, the Rebbe lebt, the Rebbe is do, the Rebbe fiert, the Rebbe out. Sie doch gut, doch am Chaie. Sie gut. Und von deswegen, der Rebbe ruft das Kossis, sie da zu Brochenkeit. Sie gut begashmis, sie gut beruchnis, aber sie da a Zubrochenkeit. I don't know how to mix the two. Mit darf nehmen a Sach Maschke, mit darf sagen a Sach Chaim. I at least don't have the Agbolas, and I'm going to have to do it. I don't have a choice. There's no way of getting out of this. On a guten bisschen Chaim. Aber mit darf sich poshet reintrachten, mit darf sich misbeinen sein in the Emas Hayein, the Gedusha von Zeit von Chof Ches mit Gimel. I don't know where to go with this. I don't know where to go, and I put it down on the table. I hope, as Chevre unsere losen Herren, wir wird poshet, ich kann mach Haseder mit dem Minyan. No, noch kann man noch verlängern in dem Goles. Halbwei kann man das nicht machen, Haseder in dem Minyan, und wir sollen sich herausschreien, die Members sind Admosai, soll sich herausquetschen, der Kossis, man soll sein Lamoyer, aber man soll sicher sein, soll sein, poshet lichtig und leichten, und soll sein, das Galles von Rebben, Teke von mir, ja, Tnufo Chadosho in ganz jeder Stahlschlüssel.
Amen. L'chaim, Rabbi Katzman, l'chaim. I see Rabbi Kantor, the song L'chaim, Rabbi Kantor. We are going to Rabbi Kantor in a few minutes, but before that, we have with us a German, was given involved in Drucken on putting together the ganzen Kavitz, the entire Kavitz he was involved, the Kavitz that the Rebbe gave out, he had the schus to put together the Kavitz the Rebbe gave out, Chof Ches Sivan, Tovshin and Aleph, and it's given Yevel Shonim, 50 years of the Rebbe's, of when the Rebbe came out, when the Rebbe came to America. and he was involved in putting together the kivitz, in printing it, and doing the research for it, and so on and on. So I would like to ask Rabbi Eliezer Zaklikovsky, my partner in the Yemei Bereshis, to bring up the memories and the zichrenes was Yemel given, und sie bei der Rebbe sagt allemal Yomel is Korim v'Naisim, and in the Farbrengen, the Rebbe said once, it is Kislev, I think the Rebbe said once that as even by Pesach, amedaf jeden Pesach, we all come to the Seder and we read the Agode again. Agamas, I mentioned the Agode from Farayoren. Everyone remembers the Agode from last year. We have to say it again because that's the ganze from the Skorim that what is Pesach, amedaf montzich noch einmal. As it comes to Chof Ches Sivan, b'shas miret. The Rebbe says clearly in several places, b'shas you speak about the Nisim. B'shas you remind yourself and you talk about them. The etzem reden, das mamshich the Nisim noch einmal, mamshich the Giluyim von Rebbe noch einmal. That is das was Pesach is. But Pesach, you say by the Seder, you say the same story. What's not the same? It's a nair Pesach, it's a nair Skorim v'Naisim, it's a nair Chayes, it's a nair Giluy for Rebbe. So I would like to ask Rabbi Eliezer Z to give the ganze instructions on what happened Chof Ches Sivan Tavshin and Aleph when he was involved in making this kivitz. Rabbi Eliezer Z. Chaim. His thing is not open. Shmuel, oh yeah, go ahead.
Chaim. Tough to follow Rabbi Katzman. But the truth is that this Nikud is very important. That Chof Ches Sivan is the antidote for Gimel Tammuz. Especially this year, and the Rebbe used the Lashon Ben Shleishim L'Koyach. There's no question that the Koyach that we're talking about here is Chof Ches Sivan. Just start off with a line from Tafshin Mem, from the Shleishim Shana, the Rebbe said the Shabbos after. As we bald mis schon 30 Jahre alt, aber Shleishim L'Koyach und mis eis gewachsen. Since we're already 30 years old and we have strength and we grew up, you can stand on your own feet. The shepherds of the Jewish people don't separate from their cattle. Und mis verbunden mit ihm jetzt Punkt wie das es gewesen in der erste Rega und in dem ersten Tag nach der Istalkos. And we're connected with him now exactly as we were the first second after the Istalkos. That alone is a farbrengen. But we'll move on to the kivitz Chof Ches Sivan, as Rabbi Greenberg mentioned. And I think if we look into the introduction to the kivitz, which the Rebbe was Magia, and the Rebbe gave the date Erev Chof Ches Sivan, which is alone an unbelievable thing. There's two nekudas here. The first nekuda is Taka the Nes HaHatzola. Pashit Begashmius, that the Rebbe survived the Holocaust and made it here. The Chatzik Hadra Tachten, Ishu Beisei, like the Rebbe says. Pashit Begashmius. The second nekuda is the Tenufa Chadasha. So let's spend a few minutes talking about each of these two nekudas. Like Rabbi Greenberg said, Ayam Meil in Niskarim V'Nasim. There has to be the Niskarim. There has to be the retelling of the story, at least with some of the details, in order to appreciate it. It's take bigger than Nes HaHatzola, but nevertheless, the Nes HaHatzola is the basis of the celebration. There's a new volume of Yiddishkeit that's about to go to print, and I'm a little bit involved in preparing it. So there's a letter there, Tafshin Lametes, that the Rebbe sends to Dr. Michal Cohen. The Rebbe writes to him that I heard a lot about your grandfather, Oscar Cohen, and especially about all of his involvement in the liberation of the Frierdiker Rebbe from prison in Tafresh Pei Zayin. And when I received your letter, he says, it was mira'anen, the zechrenis from that time. It awakened, it refreshed the memories of everything that happened in Tafresh Pei Zayin, and especially that it's a davar be'ita, etc. And Oscar Cohen is a separate story, how he was involved because of his political connections from Germany, and then he went to Moscow, and it's sehr stark Mishtadl gewesen together with Mordechai Dubin, and they were able to be peiled was mat gepeiled. And at that time, Shazar got a hold of the correspondence between Oscar Cohen and the Frierdiker Rebbe and trying to get him out. So he wanted to bring it as a matana to the Rebbe and put him Tavshel Lamed Aleph when he came. Anyway, I just thought that it was an interesting thing the Rebbe mentions in this new volume of Yiddishkeit about the concept of to meranen sein die Zechrenes. So basically, the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin were on the run for 13 months, from before Shavuos Tafshin until Chof Ches Sivan Tafshin Aleph. And basically, if you have to sum up those 13 months were completely penetrated with Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit and Ge'ein Yankiv. When I worked on preparing the Tildes for Hayem Yem of the Rebbe's history, so we wrote that the Rebbe survived and he was able to be saved and he came to Vichy. Uberchim leVichy. They ran away from France and they went to Vichy. And the Rebbe crossed out the word Uberchim and he wrote Uma'atikim leVichy. There's no running. So I said, Uma'atikim leVichy. The Zeit is gekommen, is gegangen. And just a few small examples of this concept of the Mesiras Nefesh that the Rebbe had. One of the famous stories is the Rebbe comes to Vichy, Erev Shavuos. The Rebbetzin is on the horse and wagon, and the Rebbe is walking along, and they come to the hotel. And shortly after that, you have to register yourself with your name and your address. So people came to register each person in the hotel. The Rebbe was not in the hotel at the time. So the Rebbetzin opened the door, and they asked the Rebbetzin, what is your religion? So the Rebbetzin answered, Orthodox, which of course could mean Jewish Orthodox or it could mean Lahavdil Greek Orthodox. This is what the police officer understood. The Rebbe came back to the hotel and he heard from the Rebbetzin what happened. He said, Ich will nicht sein abgeschnitten von dem Eibishten afila auf Papier. He went back to the police station and he told them to change it. Not Orthodox, but Jewish Orthodox. Interesting, there's also another interesting letter in this new volume of Igris. Somebody asks the Rebbe that Laguna, after the times of the Arizal, there was no more shmadis, there's no more forced conversions where people were being threatened with their life to convert. And the Rebbe answers this person, do you not know that all the pogroms that took place, nicht verkennen gedacht, nicht verheim gedacht, in Russia, Poland, etc., were only because of religion? And when it came to certain times, certain things with Hitler, when you received a certificate that you're now no longer Jewish, then you're a Catholic, you were saved. The Rebbe says absolutely every single person who perished in the Holocaust, it's because of Shmad, it's because of religion. Anyway, the Rebbe made it a point just to explain what the sakana was at that time. Those few weeks when the Rebbe came to Vichy, the government of Vichy became the representatives of the Nazi government. And Pétain became the prime minister, and his offices and his building where he was sitting and making laws to be Reidef Yidden, to attack Yidden and to persecute Jews, following and collaborating with the Nazis, was across the street from the hotel where the Rebbe was. The name of the hotel was Ambassadors, and literally across the street they were sitting and planning how to attack Jews, and the Rebbe is living in his own world. He wants to write Orthodox Jewish. What did the Rebbe do when he came to the city? Every single Shabbos he spoke in shul. At least 6 from the maybe 10 weeks that the Rebbe was there, 6 of the weeks the Rebbe writes in the Rishimis the teichen of what he's going to speak in shul. Till today, there's an elderly Yid that's alive. His name is Yankelevich. In Vichy, he's in his 90s, and he has very vivid memories of the Rebbe speaking in shul in those weeks when the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin were there. And there's a lot of stories about it, and a lot of details about the chizuk that it gave the people in a time when they were pashut afraid to leave their houses. That's how big the sakana was. You walked in the street, you can get arrested. And the Rebbe was giving with the whole tekif and geret, with the whole shturim. And he says one Shabbos it was particularly packed, not only in the men's shul but also in the Weiber shul. And he explained that the way the shul goes, the women's section is 2 floors up, so it's really high. It's like on the 3rd floor from the ground. And the women's section was full of people, and the Rebbe is in the middle of speaking, and all of a sudden there starts some pushing by the women, and a woman falls down from the balcony, and she hits the floor, and everybody went crazy. He said, I don't remember, I was a kid, I don't remember what the Rebbe did. But he says, I remember vividly that a few minutes later, the few people came, picked her up, put her on a chair, and she stood up and walked back as if nothing happened. And they looked at it as Pashta miracle. Pashta often and maifis. The way he's mitayr, the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's being in the city was like a Rebbe. Pashut. There was a special chair that they had for him. And when he spoke in shul, is given shashtil. And by the Rebbe, since Gvenkin Welt, one of the Rishimis is about our Vaad Or Vechom Hahiskashrus. Why? The Rebbe is trying to get out of a Mokim Sakana where it's Pashut, it's Sakanas Nefashis, but it's the Shabbos before Yud Beis Tammuz. The Rebbe is with his Shver in 770. The Rebbe is not in Vichy with Paton, Yimach Shemai. And the Rebbe is speaking about our Vaad Or Vechom Hahiskashrus. Why? Because the Shabbos after Yud Beis Tammuz, but the Friedrich Rebbe gerät wegen our Vaad Or Vechom Hahiskashrus. Zman Mokim didn't exist. This is the perspective. And there's so many other stories. From Vichy, he went to Nice at the end of the summer, at the end of Chedesh Av. He came to Nice, he had to have a visa. So they gave him a visa for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, they said, we're not renewing the visa. They just found these documents in Nice. My uncle's the shliach there, Yosel Pinson, was gesund und stark. They send him a letter, the Rebbe and Rebbetzin should leave the city immediately, otherwise they're going to be arrested. If they're caught, they're going to be arrested. What do you do? So they went back and they filled out more papers, and they filled out more papers. There were some Bakanta people there. One of them was Bezbarodke, who I had the opportunity to spend many hours with. Anyway, until the middle of Cheshvan, they were literally looked after that if they would be caught, and they would be arrested. And finally, in the middle of Cheshvan, they get a letter that they have a visa for 6 months until before Pesach. And then before Pesach, they renewed it, and they were able to have another visa for 6 months until the end of the summer. And Baruch Hashem, Chof Ches Sivan, the Rebbe came. But this is the fear with which the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin were living. What was the Rebbe involved with? Shiurim, visiting the orphanages, going to shul to give a shir between Mincha and Ma'ariv. In the hotel, there was a little shtibel. The Rebbe showed up over there also and gave a shir. In the big shul, he spoke. Hafotzas hamaayonos. To meet people, to be ma'ader people, to be machazik people. And then there was pashut physically. We all know the story with the $100 bill. To get into the hotel, you had to show that you had money. Nobody had money. Everybody was refugees. So the Rebbe gave each person a $100 bill. They should check into the hotel and then give it back to them, and he gave it to the next person. So the Rebbe would walk up and down the street finding refugees to help them to be able to get a place to stay so they wouldn't be on the street. The very famous story of Tu B'Shvat in Marseille. What happened was that after months and months of trying to get a visa from Nice, they realized that they're Pashut anti-Semites and they're not going to give the Rebbe a visa. So they decided to change the office of the council, of the American Council, from Nice to Marseille. A few hours train ride from Nice. And that's what they did. So the Rebbe had to travel there a couple times. Every time the Rebbe traveled there, the Rebbe went to the shul and farbrengen with the bachrim over there. One of the times that the Rebbe went was Tu B'Shvat. He walked into the shul. There was a few bachrim sitting there, refugees, Vestach Yidden, Alter Yidden. And he asked, he wants to share a few words for Tu B'Shvat, but he made a farbrengen. Zalman Schechter, Alav Sholom, that was Zach B'Shem Emre. He partially remembers word for word how the Rebbe was speaking. The Rebbe asked him, Ksubis, Psula Nisas L'Yem Ravi. He spoke about the holy Al Pichsidis. What is Psula Nisas L'Yem Ravi? That is Shnei Alafim Teu, Shnei Alafim Mesa Mashiach, Shnei Alafim. And basically, the Rebbe got to the end of the point. As if Mashiach is nicht gekommen b'Yem Ravi, darf man warten b'Yem HaChamishi. As if es nicht gekommen b'Yem HaChamishi, darf man warten b'Yem HaShishi. For was? Almona Nisas b'Yem HaChamishi, Grusha Nisas L'Yem HaShishi. Vibaldas b'Pishachem Shulcha Imchem, since we unfortunately weren't righteous, the Rebbe says to them, So because of our sins, we had to wait until the Yom HaShishi. Grush on Nisas Yom HaShishi. Gets married on the 6th day. And then the Rebbe started to cry, and the Rebbe says, "Sishn Erev Shabbos, wie lang wird man davon warten for the Chassidim?" And this gave them such a shake-up. He says he'll never forget that. They sang some nigunim. Parenthetically, about a year and a half later, Zalman Schachter comes to New York, and he comes to 770, and the Rebbe comes to New York. So he comes to see the Rebbe. He wants to see this tzir, which he Pashut couldn't get over it when the Rebbe farbrengen Tu B'Shvat. The Rebbe gives him Shalom Aleichem, and the Rebbe says to him before anything, Rukam Velesand, the name of the street in Marseille where the shul was. So he says, yeah, Chamish Asar B'Shvat, yeah. Du gedenkst was mit geredet dorten? You remember? So he said, yeah, and he started to say back to the Rebbe what the Rebbe was saying about the whole Arichas, and the Rebbe corrected him in a few places. The Rebbe used every opportunity to be Ma'ir Yidden, to be Mechazik Yidden, to teach Yidden, to do a hafotzas. Just a short nekuda from Bezbaratka. He has many stories, but basically he knew the Rebbe from France, and then he continued with the Rebbe to Vichy, and then he continued to Nice. So Kumafar Pesach, the Rebbe tried to bake matzahs with a Belzer Chassid over there. It's nicht gegangen. And the Pashut, there was no Shmura matzah. So this Bezbaratka was working with glass, with mirrors. And he was working for the French Navy, so he was being sent around to different places. One of the places he was sent to, a month before Pesach, was to Switzerland. So the Rebbetzin asked him, "Wir haben dort einen Bakante. We have Levi Yitzchak Schmerling. Go in over there to him and ask him for some Shmura matzah." He said, "No problem." So he came to the Schmerlings, and he said he's coming from Nice, and the Rebbe's Eidim, the Rebbe's Tochter, haben gebeten matzah. He says to him, "I have 7 matzahs. 7 matzahs is not going to be enough. Maybe there's other people we can get from." So Schmerling went and knocked on Pashut doors of another few people, another few families, took from each one 6 or 7 matzahs together. He put together 21 matzahs. Then he gave him a whole brick of cheese, and he gave him chocolates and candies, the Schmerling. When Bezbaratka came back, the simcha that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin had from being able to see the Shmura matzah, it was unbelievable. The first thing they did was they cut the cheese in half, and they said, "Nem." They gave him away to Bezbaratka. All the chocolates and the candy they gave him, they said, "Give the kinder." And the Rebbe, the first thing he did is he went back to that Belzer Junge man, and he said, "Ich bakum in Shmura matzah," and he gave him from his 20 matzahs, he gave him 6, 7 matzahs for this daughter. He didn't even know who the Rebbe was. Didn't even know. He found out later this is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Eidim. Anyway, from there they got visas to go to America, Chalamayit Pesach. Then they had to get a transit visa to go to Portugal, and from Portugal they came to New York. The Rishim Hayadua from Yudzayin Sivan and Chof Ches Sivan Baruch Hashem. So that's the Niskarim V'Nasim. The second Nekuda is the Tnufa Chadasha, the Tkufa of Tnufa Chadasha. I'm sure the bigger Chassidim will have what to farbrengen about this, Rabbi Greenberg, Beresham. But when I grew up, I was already bar mitzvah tavshim hey, so we grew up with Chof Ches Sivan and Shinay Yom Tov. So it was already part of our upbringing, so to say. And we felt connected to it, especially because the Rebbe spoke about it, and the Rebbe was Magia Maimer, and the farbrengens continued to grow and expand, and they made beautiful churas to be Ma'ir the Ilam. So when it came to Chamishim Shana, so it was a natural thing that the Bachrim were excited. You know, this is a lifetime opportunity that we're able to celebrate together with the Rebbe Chamishim Shana of Chof Ches Sivan. And it was around that time that I was working with Rabbi Greenberg on the Yemei Breishis, and he had left to Shlichus to Alaska, and the whole burden fell upon me. And I was in Olatera Sachakal, so I was only working in between Sdarim. So in those weeks before Chof Ches Sivan, so I had the tremendous chus to prepare a few things for the Sefer that the Rebbe was Magia. One was a sikha from the Frierdiker Rebbe when the citizenship took place that I had heard from Nissim Mendel. And another sikha was the famous sikha about the chess. The Rebbe spoke because of a chess champion that used to come daven in 770 by the name of Sam Rashevsky. And both of those things, it was a tremendous chus that the Rebbe participated in the Sefer in such a way that was beyond our imagination, beyond our estimation. It was like beyond words. And it was gefilt as, the Rebbe basically lost zu asach zachen that perhaps in years before he wouldn't. So at that time, I had a friend in Crown Heights, and he had the entire archive of the Kramer family, of all the documents that were connected to bringing the Rebbe over, and all the legalities. The Frierdiker Rebbe over, but the Rebbe also. And every Friday night I used to go spend some time with him and read the documents, and he would explain to me a letter here, a letter there, back and forth, State Department, the lawyers, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the lawyers, the State Department, the Frierdiker Rebbe, back and forth, trying to find where the Rebbe was, and then from Nice to Marseille, and from Marseille to Portugal, the whole arichas. I said, Chof Ches Sivan, why don't we give this stuff out? Why don't we make something that people could have an hour from it? And he said, Adrabah, if you're going to do something, I'll give you copies of all the documents. And then I said, you know what? After the Rebbe was masking to print siches in Yemei Breishis, and the Rebbe gave his haskama to the Sefer, and the Sefer is full of pictures and tildes and ksavim. It's unprecedented that the Rebbe should allow his own tildes to be printed. So I had been dealing with Rabbi Krinsky. I went to Rabbi Krinsky and I said, I have an idea to make something for Chof Ches Sivan, but in past years it was informal churas that the Bachrim made. I think it's time for 50 years to do an official chura. The Hans should do something. And then I have all these documents from this guy. He said, it sounds like a very good idea. I'm happy to ask the Rebbe, but you have to work with those that do the siches. So ask by the different, the various Vaadim that do the siches. So I went to Vaad Or Vechom Hahiskashrus, to Reb Simon Jacobson, and this sounds like a good idea. You'll do the work. You'll get some other bacher to do the work. So I got copies of all the documents, and I got a bacher in 770 that was very good with translation in Hebrew to do all the translation. But slowly but surely, there's this document being put together of all the details. In the meantime, we hear about the first farbrengen from the Rebbe, because there was a lot of stuff that was said in the previous years that were in the Churas, Leibel Posner and Herschel Fogelman, v'chulu. And this started to give a little linguistic pain every mizach. And we started to try to see if we could find more details about the first farbrengen. Call this one, call that one. So Simon got very excited about it, and he started to do his own research. In the meantime, I told him, let's try to get at least from the Rebbe a general reshus that this is in the right direction. He said, yeah, that makes sense. So he wrote on a zettel that a few bachram are putting this together, and want to have haskama. And the Rebbe said, "V'hisyatzus be'aguch u'b'tza'aguch," which was obviously that meant that the Rebbe wanted it, but the Rebbe wanted it to be with achrayos. So he went to Reb David Raskin as tza'aguch, and went to Reb David Raskin as aguch. And obviously Reb David Raskin was very excited about it. So that took care of that problem. And then we continued to do the research. And he had a question of maybe the Rebbe has some kind of nekudis by him in the room of the first farbrengen. I thought it was completely outlandish, but Simon said, you know what? So I say to us, yes, and he wrote to the Rebbe a tzattel asking if the Rebbe had anything written from the first farbrengen, or maybe from the postcards from Berel Baumgarten. Only later we heard that it started in Tafshin Beis, but Nishnigeh. And the Rebbe answered, Ein azman gram meklal, to look for this. And also, Betach yagiu edapam. This whatever you're doing, make sure that it has additional eyes should see it before it goes to print. Okay, fine. So that's what we did. We gave it to this one, to that one, a few Levitin Crown Heights that were known for having a sharp eye. And it was ready the Thursday night before Chof Ches Sivan. We finished everything. We sent it to the typesetter, to Matel Chaim. No inkling at all of anything to do with the Rebbe giving this out. This was a chura that Kahas was printing for Chof Ches Sivan 50 years. Friday we gave in the folder to the Rebbe with the Pesach Dover, with the whole thing. And I think it was Motzei Shabbos. The Rebbe gave it out. And the date on the Pesach Dover was Erev Chof Ches Sivan. You didn't need more than that. That was like the biggest gushpanke. Erev Chof Ches Sivan. Sunday was Erev Chof Ches Sivan. Monday was Chof Ches Sivan in Tafshin Al. We were through the roof. The Rebbe is accepting it. Kahas, official. Chof Ches Sivan is now not only a Yom Tov of Bachrim, it's a Yom Tov of the Rebbe, and it's in Klal Yisrael, and in an official way. Later on Sunday morning before dollars came out the Maimer the Kuntres Chof Ches Sivan Tafshin and Aleph. So I said to Simon, this should also be included, even though we didn't give it into the Rebbe because we didn't have it. But now that the Rebbe was Magiyah, then obviously it belongs in the Kavitz. He said, yeah, that makes sense. There was somebody who was Matziyah to put in the Tildes from my Yem. So I believe the labor going to check with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said it's okay. And that's it. It was being prepared to go to print. The date on the Maimer was Yom Aleph Chav Zayin Sivan. The Kuntris Matzoi Shabbos was Erev Chav Ches Sivan. The Maimer was Yom Aleph Chav Zayin Sivan. Okay. Later that night, we had another Gilui, myself and Rabbi Greenberg. I had asked Rabbi Krinsky that L'Kavitz Chof Ches Sivan Yevel Shonim, we wanted to give in the Pesach Dover of the Sefer, V'imei Breishis. He said, okay, I'm going into the Rebbe after dollars, make sure it's ready, and meet me after dollars, and I'll give it in. So I was used to that. That was already a few times. So I met him at the end of dollars. He took the folder, and he gave it into the Rebbe. Dollars finished, 6 o'clock maybe, something like that. And 7 o'clock was Mincha, and Ma'ariv was like maybe 9. The Rebbe came in like 45 minutes late to Ma'ariv, 9:45. I didn't know what it does. So after Ma'ariv, I went into labor grower and I said, we gave in a folder earlier today. If there's anything, he says, I'm going in now and we'll see. So I waited, and he came up with a whole pile of stuff. And on the bottom of the pile, I saw the folder. I said, that's mine. Took out the folder and I opened it up. And the Rebbe gave a date. It's the third date within 24 hours. Now, just to explain, when we gave in the Pesach Dover, it was primed for Chof Ches Sivan. What's haste? We gave in a zettel. Erev Yom HaBorach Chof Ches Sivan. That was the date of the zettel. In the zettel, we wrote, B'kesher L'Yom HaBorach Chof Ches Sivan Yevel Shonim Mitzurah B'zah Pesach Dover, like the Sefer Yemei Breishis Shmucham L'Tfus. 2 times. In the Pesach Dover itself, by the end of the Pesach Dover, Megalvim Schus L'Yem Zakei, that the Sefer is coming out for Yevel Shonim from Chof Ches Sivan. In the date itself, you leave the date open for the Rebbe, and under that you write, Shnas HaTzadik, Shnas HaArbaim, so we wrote Shnas HaTzadik, and then Yevel Shonim L'Bay Kveiktish Admur Shlita L'Chatzik Adrat. So it was like there was no other date, and was given in on Sunday, the eve of Chof Ches Sivan. So I open up the Pesach Dover. The first page has a tikkun. The Rebbe changed from mita'ed to mita'er. Mita'ed means giving testimony. Mita'er means describing. And the date that the Rebbe wrote was Erev Shabbos Shelach, which was the Friday before. The very interesting thing was that there was another date that the Rebbe wrote before that, and he crossed it out. And that date was Yom Aleph Parsha Chukas. Years later, we realized that was Gimel Tammuz. So there's this connection here somehow. Monday morning after Shachris, the Rebbe tells Rabbi Groner that he wants to print 10,000 of these koftzim to give out after the oil. I mean, shock is not even the word. It was beyond anything that we could have dreamed of. I mean, it didn't make sense. It's not like a maimer, like Rabbi Katzman was saying. It's not a maimer from the Rabbeim. It's a maimer from the Rebbe. It's maimerim and sichis and tildes and kisvei yad. I put in a document from Butler, from the lawyer. The Rebbetzins ksav yad. It was like it was beyond anything. And the Rebbe's going to give this out himself. We were just completely blown away. How do you explain these feelings? I don't know. But anyway, after the chalukah we take a farbrengen, and after the sicha and the bracha, first there was a bracha. The Rebbe gave the Rebbe spoke after the bracha, and then the Rebbe went back up to the Rebbe came back from there. It was mincha. After mincha was the bracha. He came downstairs, place where he gives dollars. After the bracha, the Rebbe asked for birchas kaina. Then the Rebbe spoke a sicha. After the sicha, he went back upstairs to the bima for Ma'ariv. After Ma'ariv was supposed to be the chalukah. So Label went over and said that they want to have a hefsik. The kuntreisim are not all here. It was an excuse so the Rebbe would go upstairs and would have a break. Anyway, the Rebbe turns around with a big smile, and he says, "Matmacher is given us v'zayin hafsik, sashadit zeit, zolme machen a hemshich." Came downstairs to the same place, the stender from the dollars, and he spoke a sicha, another sicha. And I think with the passage of time, that sicha and that whole event just takes on a whole different meaning. A hefsik and a hemshich. Was tut sich da? Redt sich wegen a hefsik. The Rebbe says, nicht kein hefsik, it's a hemshich. And this is 9 months before Chof Zayin Adar. This is not. This is Pashut. Gezählte Chadashim. And in the Sikha, the Rebbe mentions also, as Chas v'Sholom zu sagen, as do a hefsik. Verkehrt, do a hachlatos. The Rebbe is talking about the Eibishter, that from Chof Ches you go into Erev Chodesh. But obviously, you don't have to be so smart. Even somebody like me can understand that the Rebbe is talking about Pashut. A legacy here. And the words that the Rebbe uses, it's kedai to listen to the Sikha. At the time, it was like, Snishkin hefsik sahem, sahisachtos, siz yechide, se werd ein zach, se werd a hahiskashrus. Se werd a hahiskashrus, the Rebbe says. Then the Rebbe says, the Eibishter Kaviyachol will, as der Id soll maskim sein, and he says 3, 4, 5 times maskim sein. Maskim sein was? To sein a shutif with the Eibishter. To sein a shutif in everything that the Rebbe talked about in the previous Sikha, as a chatzi kadra tachten is dorten can eispelen the geule, because it's the tachten should be tachten, melik and the suftan the alien shebellion. And what's the keach from them? The keach from them is Chof Ches Sivan. So the Rebbe is saying, I'm making you a shutif, I'm giving you his achdus, I'm giving you yechide, I'm giving you his kashrus. These are the words. I'm not making it up. It's exactly the words. It's oisius. So wird nicht nur a shutif, nor a kiyum nitzchi. A kiyum nitzchi. Chof Ches Sivan, the Rebbe standing, giving out a book of all of his accomplishments in 50 years, his own tildus, his own personal stories, that was so upgifted that the Rebbe should even speak about it, let alone to give it out to thousands of people. It was pashut beyond. What is he saying? He wants a shutfis in this aveda, in this kiyum nitzchi, in this hachlatos, as jeder Yid soll maskim sein, as the tachten should be tachten, soll kennen ufton the aliyah hachig deila. The koyach comes from Chof Ches Sivan. I'm giving you my yomtiv, I'm giving you my personal Iber Lebenition, I'm giving you my siches, I'm giving you my morim, I'm giving you my kisveyat, I'm giving you the documents, whatever it is. Become a partner with me to be able to continue until Mebet Uftan de Gula. There's a lot to take in here, and I'm not the person for it. I'll just finish with another line from that Shabbos after Yud Shvat Tavshin Mem. The Rebbe says like this, und der Fahr darf mit sich anhalten in der Klamke. Therefore, you have to hold on to the door handle. Please anhalten sich in an offener Tier. Until hold on to an open door. Und gehen even ziehen. And go to the oil. Mit shailus ubakoshes, with questions and requests. Schreiben pidyenes, writing letters. Beten rachamim brachas, and ask for mercy and for blessings. Bizas mebet euches soll sein v'hu yechalkelecha. Until you ask that you should also have your sustenance, he should give you sustenance. And there's al euch machen die kelim, yichalkelecha, from kelim, the vessels. The Rebbe should make the vessels mit was eifzunehmen die brachas, to be able to receive the brachas. Lamir hoffen that before the Yom HaYilula Hashleishim, we should be able to make the true Shechiyanu, was also mit den Rebbe, v'hu yigalenu, l'chaim.
The Chaim Rebbe Eliezer was very geschmack. Mamish, you brought back the memories from jene Zeiten. I used to get the faxes from him. Every day was a new fax of a new thing that we gave into the Rebbe. Was Yashakeh Rebbe Eliezer, was very geschmack, and especially what you spoke about the Gurevitch, and how by the way, Eliezer didn't mention that the famous Sikha from Shabbos Shelach, Tovshin Memvov, was a sikha that that the Beshaite, the Rebbe spoke beremez about Chof Ches Sivan, and at those days, the Rebbe used to magia only one sicha from a farbrengen, not the whole farbrengen. And since Reb David Feldman had a wedding in Israel, so Reb Yael was doing the agoy. He gave in the sicha. Was every week. 1 week was anachas at Mimi from Yiddish from Reb Simon, and 1 week was anachas al from Reb David Feldman. So he gave in. Reb Yael gave it in instead of Reb David Feldman. And Reb Yael chose not the sicha that the Rebbe spoke beremez and Chof Ches Sivan, but he chose the sicha the Rebbe spoke about the elections for the Rabbonim from Rabbi Marlon and Rabbi Azdeber. And Reb Yael was still writing the date, the famous sicha from Abir Sheba-Abirim. And he was still writing the date, the way Motalma geschrieben, all the years, Shabbos Vechom, Shabbos Shelach, and Chodesh Tammuz. The Rebbe was magia the sicha, and that's unusual. The Rebbe added on the top, Chof Ches Sivan. That in addition to the date, Shabbos Shelach and Chodesh Tammuz, was Motalma almost geschrieben, as they, Rebbe added the word Chof Ches Sivan, was that first time. So now this sicha, the first sicha, that the Rebbe was not magia, so Rebbe Eliezer, together with Yossi Jacobson, they took it and they kind of added a few pieces from other series from the Rebbe spoke later years, and they put it in for a god. The Rebbe was not magia it, and he took it kamei shehu, and he allowed to print it, and he gave it out the way it is. It's like upon you see to what extent it was that the shinoi that happened that Chof Ches Sivan. Upon him, we will ask Shmuel Litvin to give us a nigun, and we'll make a break ben parsha le parsha if he's there, if he knows how to do it. If not, we'll go move on to our next one. Ask everyone to say the Chaim. Chaim. So we have our next speaker, a shliach b'marchakim. You do the chvivas from Rebbe to shluchim b'marchakim. Shliach, a famous, one of the Rosh HaShluchim, and one of the famous farbrengens. We are very happy to have with us Rebbe Chaim Kantor, and we ask Rebbe Chaim to song l'chaim and onwarmen with a paar Wörter. Rebbe Chaim, please open up your unmute yourself. Rabbi Litvin, can you unmute him? Oh, I
don't need a big invitation to unmute myself. This is Chaim. Yeah, I see. It says lichtig badir, Joske. It must be daytime by you. By me is echet.
Hayim Godel. What's time by you?
By me, it's 9:35 a.m. So it's echet lichtig. I just don't have a window in this room.
Oh wow, Mechayim.
But bei uns ist der morgendliche Tag. Bei dir ist der nächtige Tag. So okay.
Bei dir ist nicht Chof Ches Sivan, es ist ein Haftes.
Es ist ein Hemshech, nicht kein Hefsek.
Oh.
So I want to, the Rebbe onkommen in America. So the Rebbe coming to America, there was there was a big kinnis in 770 when it must have been Shnas Hashmena. What are we now? Now we're Shnas from
8 not big Gimel Shana.
It happened to be it was COVID and I was away for a few months. I was then in New York. I had the schus to speak in 770, and I touched upon. I went a little bit on without knowing if I had a source for what I was saying that America, or I couldn't quote chapter and verse that the Chof Ches Sivan is coming to America, but it's not just coming to America, it's coming to America, and also the Frierdiker Rebbe emphasized the Nashani Elikim, that America is nicht anders, because really what's going on in Chatzi Kadra Elyon is more significant, but America is nicht anders. By the Rebbe took the concept of America and built it into the new model of Lubavitch, that America has qualities and keiches and opportunities and a whole you could say a whole Weltanschauung in a way, a whole outlook on the world that the Rebbe then takes and marches into the next century with this lechatchila Rebbe, with this stolz. You had to the Rebbe told certain shluchim, even in Eretz Yisrael, they should speak with an American accent. There's a certain takeoff. Anyway, the Rebbe should go off that, as I was learning in my kvias of Teres Menachem, Tavshin Lamed Gimel, I learned 50 years bekvias already, many years, 50 years back. Tavshin Lamed Gimel, Yud Gimel Tishrei, the Rebbe gekochtzach in Rebbe Marash in Lechatchila Rebbe. I think that's really where the big talk about the Lechatchila Rebbe starts. In Simchas Torah, the Rebbe says befeirush. Nimtzoim anu ba'atzis abris. You can look at it in Teres Menachem, page 137, Tavshin Lamed Gimel. Pashut Nimtzoim anu ba'atzis abris shebemakim zeh klolos hagisha be'efin lechatchila Rebbe. America is a place lechatchila Rebbe. Elishazel b'negel inyoni hareshus. They use it for inyoni hareshus. And how much more do we have to do for inyoni Torah? Okay, I was already excited, very excited to see that. But I came to Shabbos Bereishis, then it became so much more exciting. First of all, there's the Rebbe Gittot quotes listen again, Lebo Alive Ani Pareh. The Rebbe says here like this: Mamish Taiches Chaim b'Medina. He says, Oslo is l'karta halach ben muslim. You come to a place, you have to go in the meaning of that place. L'chayre, what are you going to learn from that place? L'chayre, when you come to a place, hayitochen shatera mitzava lilmed manok seir. Harik shiyudi bala ir misyemes olav lifla bala shanes. When a yid comes to a place, he has to change the place. And that's why he comes there. So why are you telling him to learn from the place? So he says, he doesn't have to change his opinions or his attitudes. In other words, the inyoni, the anhoga, those kind of behaviors that he's able to use, that's what he should use. Get ready, guys. If you're not sitting tight, hang on tight. Chaim b'Medina, we live in a country, America. What's the example of a riber? When they buy a garment, they put it on for a short time. The Walmart generation, they throw it out, they buy a new garment. They drive it just a little while. It doesn't matter what does the car look like. Even if everything's going good, they buy a new car. And even if lechatchila, he doesn't know if he even needs a car, because only walks is 3-4 amas is all he walks anyway, because he needs a car. But if it's written on the car, so it's a 71 model. We're talking, the Rebbe is talking to Sholom Gimel, so it's October 1972. If it says that it's a 71 model, so after a little time he needs model that says 72. And the Machmirim already need, in 72, they already need the model that says 1973. So he says, this anhog of lechatchila riber, you have to use it for kedusha. V'esalcha barechava, v'dav zayna fabreite eifen, in all inyanim elam hazeh. Adarabah, the sibah why there's a hisrachvus in inyanim elam hazeh, because we need this anhog in avedis Hashem. Like the Medrash says, lo hoya elam roi lishtamis bezav v'lama nivra, shulam mishkan shpeis hamikdash. Anyway, so basically, clearly, when we talk Chof Ches Sivan, America, it's not just America's nicht anders. America, in a way, America is good anders. But the Americanism, not chas v'sholom the attitudes and not chas v'sholom the behaviors, but the harchava, this the Rebbe took grafts onto it, and Ms. Megala, the emes of the American Archava, what used to be, I don't know where America is today, but at least the concept of the America I grew up with. I grew up in Australia. I didn't grow up in America. I came to America later. My Zaydav Amhecht and his brothers and so on, with the Rebbe Beferish referred to them as having a breitkeit and a chutzpah, an American way that the Rebbe turned into the trademark of Chabad. That's the Yom of Aked Motzafena Banegva is which very much, again, the Beferish, the Rebbe spoke about it, is a transition that happened by coming to America. Those is ein zach. I want to the one nekuda bepeil mamish and I think very relevant to Gibel Tammuz is I just heard mentioned before, it was in Tafshem Memhei that there was the Gilui of Chof Ches Sivan. I'm remembering that Chof Ches Sivan, I'm also old enough to remember it, and if I remember correctly, the Gilui came because of the printing of the Yiddishkeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Am I correct? Yoska, nod your head. Yeah? Okay. And the printing of the Yiddishkeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe, everybody was holding their breath to see what's going to finish when they finish the Seder of the Yiddishkeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe. What's going to be? I don't even know if anybody dreamed at the beginning that the Rebbe will give Rishus to print his Yiddishkeit. And when they started printing the Rebbe's Yiddishkeit, it was an unbelievable thing. So to me, Chof Ches Sivan and Yiddishkeit is kind of the same. I didn't know any of the stuff behind the scenes. It's incredible what was going on in front of my eyes. I was in 770 Tafshin Aleph. I had no idea what was going on from the people that were in the know. A little bit, Yoske called me to his apartment when he was a younger man working on Yimei Bereshis to translate some of the Imanim of Rebbe Eliezer Gross. There was some English stuff they didn't understand. So he found a guy who could speak English, and he would sit me down and say, what does this mean? There was stuff about baseball. There was a lot of Giluyim about the Rebbe, but there was also stuff from the regular American life in the 1940s. Anyway, so I do a little bit, drop. I had all this stuff that Eliezer Zaklikovsky is telling us now is unbelievable. It's mind-blowing. The Ma'atikim, this Ma'atikim and Berchim, and I mean, unbelievable stuff. Thank you very much for sharing it. But to me, it's just one blur. Also, don't forget, in those days, Mataka, like Rabbi Katzman said, to get these things in a way, it comes in, but it also gets a little blurry. Yiddishkeit, Chof Ches Sivan, and there's a lot of stuff that's... So, there's something about the Igris, which I discovered lately. I have by me somebody who told me, by Yiddishkeit Farbrengen. He told me, and he thought he was giving me a compliment. He said, Rabbi Kantor, he says, I want to tell you, I feel more connected to the Alter Rebbe than to the Rebbe. It was Yiddishkeit. He thought he's explaining to me, wie gut, wie bei Shein Perlach, was apem matik margolis bis Kantor, that can übergeben the Alter Rebbe's Torah in a way that this Yid, and Der Ashvi feels much more connected. Okay. You know what happened after that? Enough good patapen di inyanim after machachesh ben hanefesh. And I asked him, tell me, I know that we learned together my modern, we learned Sichas. Have you ever read the Igris Kedesh from Rebbe? Do you ever read the Rebbe's Igris? He said no. So I said, I want you to download the app. He's not shy because he speaks English only. Says there's an app, Rebbe Responsa app. I want you to download this app. There's Igris Kedesh in English. On Chabad.org, there's a bunch of Igris. But I want to talk not about the Igris Kedesh that the Rebbe translated, but also the ones that Rebbe wrote in English. Start reading the Igris. 30 days later, he calls me up and he says, Rabbi Kantor, I am a chassid of the Rebbe. And I think what I've heard lately more and more being spoken about, because it takes time to unpack things, is the Igris Kedesh from Rebbe. I saw that Chabad.org just put out something now. Levi Shmotkin put out a thing of emotional wellness, which today is I mean, we spent a whole week now sending back somebody to the United States who got stuck here, a girl Nebuch. And I can't tell you how much we discover here. Thailand is a place where they say if you have nothing to do, it's cheaper to do it in Thailand. A lot of wanderers here. You see a lot of people everywhere in the world, but here we deal with it. And the way that Rebbe in every topic spoke, but again, this is not my modern, this is not Sichas. This is the Rebbe coming to Chatzi Kader Atachten. This is the Rebbe being mislabish, if you wish, in Gidrei Atachten and doing Tachteinim, Yalul Elyenim, picking up the world from the place where the people are in, not from the lofty pedestal of in the Beis Medrash, in the Shul, towing Pasha to the hospitals where people are suffering emotionally, going to the places where people are going to their workplace and are scared about parnasa, going to the place where people are asking to buy a house, to buy a car, to buy in every aspect of a person's physical life. The Raya Mehemna, the Getraya Pastach, the Rebbe, the shepherd, the faithful shepherd is Pasha there to pick us up. And I think that I've heard many Chassidim. I've heard it by Kinnis HaShluchim from at the time Shmuelu, that he's already been a few times through Yiddishkeit Kaddish every day, not to learn the Yiddishkeit Kaddish for them. Then recently I heard say b'shem Emre by Kinnis HaShluchim, Rabbi Gurevitch told me he discovered the English Iglis. Again, he told me the ones written in English. But that's different. If you're a native English speaker, you will find things that Rebbe's letters written in English that you couldn't imagine. In Tafshin Yud Aleph, the Rebbe is explaining why to go 7 times around. The Chassan goes around the Kala. If you see that letter, you'll see that letter, you'll think it was written by Shea Stabo or Y.Y. Jacobson or Chveis or maybe Manis Friedman, because of the language, the concept. It's written by the Rebbe and it's Pashut, unbelievable. There's a letter famously about the Oyel, the one who participated in building the Pashut, the physical structure of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Oyel, and the Rebbe writes to him a letter. The original is in English. When you see that letter in English, you fall off your feet. The Rebbe says the Rebbe describes today what we feel, what we need to feel, and what we feel that this is a space where it's a sacred space, that the world ceases to be the way it is. We're in some kind of a Har Sinai moment when you go to the Rebbe's space, the physical sacred space of the Dalet Amos of the Oyel is written in English to English speakers. Again, I'm a native English speaker. That's my first language. That's just the reality. He speaks to us in our language. America's Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying, but L'chaim, thank you for allowing me to participate here. L'chaim.
Very geschmack, Rabbi Kantor, Yashakayach. Really geschmack. The letter you mentioned, Taka, when you get to the Eyel, is Taka was Nispasim just last year, and it's a meridical letter. And it's a chayv kodesh of everyone to read the letter either in Hebrew or in English, with the translation in Hebrew, what it means before you go into the Oyel, to just learn. This is the best more learning in Kuntres, from Mittel Rebbe, from Rebbe Parcher, wegen gehen zum Oyel. Das ist ein Brief, 1 page from Rebbe, what tells you what is gehen zum Oyel. L'chaim, Rabbi Kantor, l'chaim, shakoyach. Nur bis an Nigen, bis an Chassidische Nigen, wir können machen einen Break, aber Litwin. L'chaim, Chassidim, l'chaim. We have a long night. We're going to have a farbrengen here. We have Rebbe Goldschmied, we have Sholom by Levitin. We're going to farbrengen with us. I'll just mention one nekuda, the kesher what Rabbi Z, what Rabbi Eliezer Z said before, and Rabbi Kantor, when it gets to Chof Ches Sivan. We all know, as already in Tofshim and Beis, the Rebbe spoke about Chof Ches Sivan. Nobody knew what it is. Nobody knew why the Rebbe spoke about it, but the Rebbe used to choose a lot of times to speak about different days of the Shabbosim. So Tovshim and Beis, Shabbos Shelach, Tovshim and Beis, the Rebbe Greenberg Chof Ches Sivan. Now, the Nekuda itself, the Rebbe already mentioned several years before, in Memalef, Lamed Zayin, but he always spoke about Chof Ches Sivan. The Rebbe spoke a few times, Shabbos Shelach, Mevochem Chedesh Tammuz, the Rebbe spoke about Chof Ches, a lot of times it fell on Chof Ches Sivan. And the Rebbe spoke about the Meise from the Gemara, as he given dort the Meise as the Ishmaelim came to Alexander's Megden, and they came with a taina against the Jews, and they stole Israel. Bnei Ishmael claimed, and they said, steht doch in Teire, Betoraschem Kosovo, was is Eretz Canaan. And then the Bnei Mitzrayim came and complained as the Yidden took away all their money, but it's not just Mitzrayim. Steht in Teire, you took away all the money, so give the money back. So Reb Sandelman said to the Chacham Yisrael, they should do something about it. But what is the answer? So there was the famous Gvir B'Msisa that he said, I'll go and I'll talk for you. And he came and he said, oh, you say Eretz Canaan, no? Sheitach Canaan, Eved Avodim. He will be an Eved to his brothers, to shame. It's Mele Kamashekon, Eved Kon Arabi, it all belongs to us. Came to Mitzrayim, they said, oh, do you want the money back? No, 400 years the Eden were the slaves in Mitzrayim. Where is all the money for the slavery? And then we'll talk. So then what happened? Alexander Smogden said, no, they're talking doch good. They have a point. So he gave them 3 days. They should prepare an answer. Since they had no answer, they ran away and they left everything behind them. Botim, Leim, it called Tuv, with everything they left behind them. So the Rebbe spoke about it a few times. But Membeis, the Rebbe said, since he gave them 3 days, and on the 3rd day, after 3 days, they decided to run away. So Rebbe said, what is after 3 days after Chof Sivan? It's Chof Ches Sivan. The Rebbe said, Chof Ches Sivan given the talk from the Nitzochen from the Eden over the Goyim. And how was the Nitzochen? The Rebbe said, Poshet by saying to them, was steht in Torah. And Mazlai Chazi to such an extent that it was not a pshat. They didn't run away and they burned down all the houses. The Eden should not get anything. That's when Sonim do that. When a Seina has to run away, he burns everything that his enemy should not be able to get. They left everything for the Eden. And I said, das ist der Emerson Nitzochen von Milchem Mechanes Havai V'Natzeach. It's interesting. And the Rebbe said in the Siche, as Medaf Nish Masber Zayin, you don't have to explain what that means. In today, when in the Matzev, the Tovshim and Beis, you could think the Sikh is relevant to today, Mamish. As Bosse the Eden for Chof Ches Sivan, the Rebbe says, as Dosi given the emissary victory of the Eden over the Goyim in a way without war, only by saying the truth, as Eretz Yisrael belongs to Eden, because they say it in Torah. And everything what says in Torah, it says, Mazlai Chozi, they go and feel it, and they don't even take it away from you, they leave it everything to you. That's what Nekuda. But going back to Chof Ches Sivan, to the story of Chof Ches Sivan, Rebbe Eliezer started, everyone knows that Techat Ben Negeit, the Matzev was beginning with the Chitzter, it's Gabus HaCheshech, in Welt, and Matzev at Yisrael, and everything. So we see, as everyone knows, as Rabbi Yosef Katzman just said before, nobody ever knew Chof Ches Sivan exist. And when it's given, the Yisrael Chof Ches Sivan was only in Tovshim Memhei. Which be'emes, the Igros Kodesh came out, Erev Hashanah Tovshim Mem Daled, the Rebbe brought it to the table already. The famous letter that the Rebbe read from the Benegate to the book, so I'm going to say the Chabad and everything for the Frierdiker Rebbe's letter. But the old Tovshim Mem Daled, people knew about it, people talked about it. There was even a Yid from Kfar Chabad who came to speak about Chof Ches Sivan, and he was carrying around the Igros Kodesh. With the name Solomon. He was carrying out the Igros Kodesh to everyone. He showed everyone here, look, it says clearly there is a date. Why don't we celebrate? Nobody did anything. And it came to Tovshim Memhei, is given a Yiserus, and in those days, those who remember the Tovshim Memhei, when the Rebbe used to come into Zal to Mincha upstairs, there was never singing. All those singing started years later. In Tovshim Memhei, there was no singing, nothing. And the Rebbe used to come in, there was a pachad and quiet. And everyone, and upstairs there was a table where the Rebbe used to stand by Mincha and Ma'ariv. And because Matgeredving them, and Melech who told before the story that his wedding, and people start talking about his invitation, that he wrote on his invitation, Chof Ches Sivan. So it became a Yiserus. So the Bachim decided to take a risk and to start singing the Nigen of Shchedesh Kislev, because the Shchedesh Kislev Nigen is given wegen der Rebbe's Hatzole, von der Matzev Abrius von Rebbe, from the Mesev Haratag, the Rebbe had Lamed Ches, and Chassidishe, which was Mamas Konzifoshes. It was a big miracle. So since this was a miracle, so we decided we'll sing the nigun of Chiddush Kislev. And in those days, it was a big risk because nobody sang when the Rebbe came in. It was not another thing. And the Rebbe, as he walked in, when the Rebbe gave tzedakah, he heard already as we are singing. And as he walked in, he made with his hand very strongly. And we all right away understood that the Rebbe was like mekabel them Indian. And then that night was a huge farbrengen in the Cheder Sheni. I say huge. Be'echlus was huge. It was a bochim of farbrengen all night. And then the next day when the Rebbe came to Mincha, we sang it again. They made the hand again. So we saw the Rebbe was mekabel. Now this was the first time Toshim Emei. Now everything was Goche Protis. 3 days later was the first meeting the Rebbe called for Agudas Siddur Chabad about the books. The Rebbe already knew about the books from Shavuos Toshim Emei. Well, nobody knew. The Rebbe knew about it, and the Rebbe already spoke about it inside and v'chulu v'chulu. And then the Rebbe called for a meeting. So Dafke v'tzachongim the ganze Cheshech from the ganze for the Sforim. For some reason, Mashgoche Protis, Dafke demolt in the Serie gewon by the Bochem, the Yini for Chof Ches Sivan, and Dafke then, the Rebbe accepted it, and that's how it all started, the Yini for Chof Ches Sivan. That's interesting to see Bam Rebbe, B'shas Sefarana, is Gabus HaCheshech, Bam Rebbe is also Mashgoche Protis. Everything is Bechavon and Mechuven. B'shas Geborna is Gabus and Cheshech, which we all know what kind of Cheshech, the Mishpat Asforim was Bam Rebbe, was a Meredike Ellen Vester, of Rebbe, the Kitrug and everything, is Dafke dem what Zechon Gein for Chof Ches Sivan. Akolponim, just to conclude with another vote from the Farbrengen from Tovshim Memtes, was Bechlal, when it gets to Chof Ches Sivan, as Eliezer mentioned, as Rabbi Katzman mentioned, that the erste Jahr gewinnt Tage der Farbrengen von the Bochem, but the first time that it was a big Farbrengen by Chassidim, and it became a little bit more official, was Tovshim Memvov. And that year, the Bochem created a old Farbrengen like Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Downstairs, a old Farbrengen. And Friday, a few of the Bochem decided to make a tshuva for Chof Ches Sivan. In those days, there was no tshuras. Today, we have a tshuva in every wedding. There was no tshuras in those days. It was once in a yovel, somebody made a tshuva. We made a tshuva, and Mamish Friday, Chof Ches Sivan, given Shabbos, it was 45 years from when the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin came to America from Tovshin Aleph to Tovshin Memvov, and we decided to make a tshuva, and we went upstairs to Shigalov, and he agreed. And even though it was late, it was afternoon, Mamish Friday afternoon, we collected. In those days, you had to Mamish by hand do everything. And we collected a paragraph from the movie from the Frierdiker Rebbe's book, from the Frierdiker Rebbe's Igros Kodesh about the Rebbe's coming to America. And the Sikha that year, the Rebbe said a Sikha test order was a very special Sikha. The Rebbe spoke about Farbrengen. That test order is as if it is Kislev. That Yosef is Kislev noch Peterburg and Zechon a night Kufa in a hafotzas for Chassidus. The same thing after the Rebbe came, after the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, started the whole thing. So we decided to put that into the movie. And we ran downstairs, we gave it into Maskiros, we gave it into the Rebbe, and we put it all by the tables, and we asked Meir Arlig, we gave in a bottle of mashke to Rabbi Groner for the Farbrengen, but of course it was mufrech by us that we should go up to the Farbrengen, to the Rebbe to be machriz, so we asked Meir that he should do it. But Meir wasn't sure because it wasn't official yet. So Meir Rosh Chodesh Kislev was an official thing, and he wasn't sure he wants to do it. Anyway, it came to the Farbrengen Shabbos, the first Sikha. The Rebbe started the Farbrengen to speak about Shabbos Vechom Tammuz. He spoke about the Geula of Yid Tammuz, but instead of talking about the entire Indian, what the Rebbe used to always talk about, Yid Tammuz, the Nest, was a race from Yid Tammuz, the Mesiros Nefesh, and the Rebbe immediately spoke about was the Indian from Yid Tammuz that we came to America, and from then the Rebbe started all Sikha about Chatzikad Tachten, and the Indian from Tzachachutzo, and all Sikha about the Indian. So Meir turned around to us, he said, I'm going to do it. No worries. If everyone felt that the Rebbe was accepting the ganzen Yom Tov. And then Meir went up, and everyone knows the story, and there is two versions in the story. The Meir announced that the Rebbe said, Meir said, as he's inviting everybody to Farbrengen, Lechoved dem Rebbe coming to America. So the Rebbe picked up his hand, and the Rebbe Shmeichel, the Rebbe said, Ishu Beisai, which means also the Rebbetzin. Now the Meir didn't understand what the Rebbe said. And he thought that the Rebbe meant that to invite all the Isha Beisef, all the Chassidim, that they should all come to the Snoshim, that all should come. So he said, we invite Isha Beisef to come. So the Rebbe stuck to Shmeichel. And then people told him the Rebbe meant, so he announced again that the Rebbe, we invite everybody to come to the Farbrengen, Lechoved, but the Rebbe, Isha Beisef, came to America. Now the Etzem Zach, the Rebbe should mention the Rebbetzin is so unusual, so out of, it never happened. I mean, I don't remember. For sure not in the memes. The Rebbe should mention the Rebbetzin. The Rebbe mentioned the Rebbetzin maybe once or twice. There was a famous Farbrengen. The Rebbe said when he gets to the minig, the Rebbe once spoke about the minig that the women have to bring to go to a well to find water. Motzi Shabbos. That says in Sforim that's such a minig. So the Rebbe said, "Ich habe nicht gesehen bei der Schwieger und nicht bei der Frau, nicht bei der Balaboste." So a few times the Rebbe mentioned the Rebbetzin, but not maybe once or twice. But the Rebbe should say Isha Beisef, but the Farbrengen. It was an unusual thing. We gleich gesehen at the Retzach wegen the Rebbe there was a very big nachas ruach as the Chassidim picked it up. And then later, but the Farbrengen, for 3 years, Mevov, Mem Zayin, Mem Ches, the Rebbe gave very strong answers after the Farbrengen. Very, very strong answers. But yet, the Rebbe never spoke about it. 3 years like that. And then came Tovshim Mem Tes, and the whole thing changed. Tovshim Mem Tes was mamish like shocking. Nobody believed what happened there. The Rebbe started Farbrengen Shabbos Vechom Tammuz, and he didn't even say Shabbos Vechom Tammuz. He started with Azemis the Chof Ches Sivan, was those von Keach, and he started to all Farbrengen about Chof Ches Sivan. And it was unbelievable. And everyone is asking, when you think about it years later, why Take? Why Yidalef Nissen? We all knew from Chof Ches Sivan already, but the Rebbe Tzachana said to Chassidim in Paris that's Yidalef Nissen. And Yidalet Kisa, the Rebbe himself bring it already in Chof Ches Yidalet. Why Chof Ches Sivan? Such a day that the Rebbe came to America, the Rebbe was saved from the Holocaust, and all of this thing, and Shashtil for 35 years, nobody talks about it. Why? How do you make sense out of this? It doesn't make any sense. Azat talk. And it's not like test order, everyone knew about it. And the Rebbe spoke every time there was a Farbrengen, the Smicha was a test order, the Rebbe spoke about test order. So why nobody knows? And it's not like it's a secret. It was a letter that the Frierdiker Rebbe sent. The Frierdiker Rebbe, and now we know the Frierdiker Rebbe put announcement in the Tog Morgen Journal. There was a Meidor the Frierdiker Rebbe put the day after the Rebbe came to America. So what is this? That Dafke Chof Ches Sivan is a day that nobody knew about it, and until Tovshim Memei, when because the Igros Kenish was printed, and sagt Richab das Frana Yomtev, and then it took 3 years, and then when Tes the Rebbe accepted it. So when you think about it, when you look what the Rebbe said Tovshim Mem Tes, you see the importance of what's the reason, what is Chof Ches Sivan, why is Dafke safe in the safe years, from as the Rebbe said in the letzte Yom, in Shabbos Shelach, the Rebbe said, Dafke in the letzte Yom, Yosef, that Dafke in the letzte Yom, it started the ganze Chof Ches Sivan, and how Chof Ches Sivan is the keach to help us how to approach Gimel Tammuz. Because as the Rebbe said, Chof Ches is the keach from Sivan, and it's especially before Tammuz. So it's interesting to see the vote, or just even the vote from Farbrengen, the nekude from the vote. So the Rebbe says, Amir the Kevov the Farbrengen, that first the Rebbe was like, as if the Rebbe kind of, when the Rebbe said the word as Chof Ches Sivan is the Beremes Keach and Sivan, the Rebbe kind of it's sich misnatzel given that why he's saying a new word, while the Rebbe Rashab said, as if say after Yerushalayim, so you could say a eigene word, so he's saying that, like he's, as if he had to excuse himself, why he's saying a naye word, steht eigentlich nicht, der Chof Ches Sivan is the Keach von Sivan, the Keach Matan Torah. And then the Rebbe said, Amir the Kevod, as we bald mod gesehen, since we saw for 3 years, Chazake, that there was Farbrengens on Chof Ches Sivan, 3 years, and there was gute Teitzoret, the Rebbe says, Ube Yisofe, So we bald mit gesehen, it's 3 Jahre, schlecht Nes Chazoke. The Rebbe didn't count Memhei for some reason. Memvov, Memzai, Memches. We bald the 3 years of Shnes Chazoke, there was a Farbrengen, the Rebbe said, Eden Metzayin given them Yomtev, them Tog, Memele, the Rebbe says, it's accepted after 3 years. It's all kind of Milamata Lamaila. The Rebbe says, we bald Chsim was getan, so he's accepting it. And then the Rebbe said, all Farbrengen. And the Rebbe said like this, as Keach von Sivan, that Chof Ches is a true Keach of Sivan. And the Rebbe said, why is Chof Ches Sivan coming right before Chof Tes, Erev Rosh Chodesh Tammuz? Because the Inyan from Tammuz is the Inyan from the Mekabel. Tammuz starts the Aveda from the Mekablim. Sivan is the Aveda from the Mneisen. Matan Teire, the Eibishter gave the Teire in Sivan. When is the Mekabel starts in Tammuz. So the Rebbe says that this is Chof Ches Sivan is the Keach for Tammuz. By Chof Ches Sivan, we got the koyach how the mekabel should work his aveda in Tammuz. And then the Rebbe started to explain the parsha from Shlach. And do amiri de kevovitz negeh to Gimel Tammuz to Der Shvi after Gimel Tammuz. The Rebbe said about Shlach, the din from Shlach is Shlach lecho. As Rashi says, lecho ledaitcho. Ani eini mitzava lecho. If you want, you could do it. So the Rebbe asked the question, Meish Rabbeinu was used to the entire Torah. The Eibishter says, Tzaves b'nei Yisrael, Daber b'nei Yisrael. The Eibishter gives commandments, tzivuyim, mitamol, shlach lechol edaitcho, do whatever you want. If you like it, do it. If you don't, I'm not telling you what to do. So Meish Rabbeinu should have said to himself, something is wrong here. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? If the Eibishter doesn't want to tell me what to do, I should better not do it. V'horai take something wrong came out of it. As what came out of the Raglim. So why Meish Rabbeinu did it? And the Rebbe answered, as be'emes, by Shlach Lecho, Meish Rabbeinu got a new Aveda. That till now, there are 2 kinds of Avedas, the Rebbe said. There is one Seder Aveda, the Eibishter hates to metut. There is a mitzvah, and you do the mitzvah. That's one Seder Aveda. Then there is a second Seder Aveda, that you Shlach Lecho ledaitcho. The Eibishter doesn't command you to do it. You on your own, you have to choose to do it. The Rebbe said, the Mishnah Pirkei says, one lotion is batel retzeincha b'pnei retzeinei. You should nullify your rotzen for the rotzen of the Eibishter. You force yourself to do the Eibishter's rotzen. And a second lotion is asei retzeinei kirtzeincha. That you should make your rotzen like the Eibishter's rotzen. That you should want to do what the Eibishter wants to do, not because he commands you to do, but because you choose to do. And the Rebbe said that Teirkeit, the Meish Rabbeinu was so happy that he received a new Seder Aveda. What's the new Seder Aveda? Nobody commands you. Do it on your own because you want to do it, because you love to do it. And the Rebbe said, Hazat Teirkeit, it's such a chvives, the Inyan from Shlach Lechol Edaitcho, that it's worth to take the risk, even if this is going to go down, as it went down. With the Ma'asim and the Meraglim, it's still worth to take the risk because the chvives of Lechol Edaitcho, when you do it on your own. And the Rebbe said, because the Tachten, the Inyan von Dir B'Tachtenim, the Inyan von Chodesh Tammuz, that you go in the Tachten, that the Tachten should become Elikus, should be Dir B'Tachtenim. If the Tachten doesn't choose to do it, then it's not in Gidra Tachten. Then it's not Dir B'Tachtenim. Dir B'Tachtenim is when the Tachten wants to do it. He loves to do it. It's he's choosing it. If Meheistem, it's Milamay Lamato. It has to be Milamato Lamato. Nobody commands you. You do it because you want to do it. Those the Nikude. And then the Rebbe continued the next Shabbos, Shabbos Kerach. Everyone remembers Shabbos Kerach Memtes, the very famous Meridik Sicha that we heard then. But before that Sicha was the Hemshech to this. The Rebbe said, why Taki Yeshua sent Shluchim? If Meish Rabbeinu saw it didn't work, what is Yeshua doing it again? Because Yeshua knew what Meish Rabbeinu knew. That's a Meridik Zach, the Inifun Lechol Adaitcho. You have to send Meraglim. That they should check it out, Eretz Yisrael. It shouldn't be because Hashem just said, you want to do it. And therefore Yeshua's Meraglim are Matzliach. Why? But the Rebbe said, because their Inifun Lechol Adaitcho could not start Kol Zman Sigven Pnei Meshek Pnei Chama. The true Mekabel wasn't there. The Aveda from Milmato Lemailo couldn't start when Meish Rabbeinu was still there. Dafke when Pnei Yeshua, Pnei Levana, that's when Lemato Lemailo started. That's the Nikude what the Rebbe says. Then the Rebbe spoke Shabbos Kerach. The Rebbe said that the same thing is about the Inyan from Lechol Edaitcho is the Inyan from coming to America. Because B'Shas was given Chatzi Kader or Elyon, where Matan Torah was given, and where all the Eden were. So there was the Shlichus Nebishn, that was the Shlichus to do Torah mitzvahs there. But to go to America, and a place where Matan Torah was not given, those der Emeser tachten. There was no need to go there. Those are the Lechole Daitcho that Eden went to America, the Friedrich Rebbe in America was the Daitcho to bring Ilakus there. And the Rebbe says that Dafke, where are you going to have the Rebbe Tachtenim? Is Dafke in Azat Tachten, She'en Lemata Meno in America, where there's no, but Matan Torah was not given. Those the Emeser Daitcho. And as the famous saying, the Rebbe said, as B'Shas Mevil Ufeim, a binyan, you pick it up in Lamato. So when do you want to do it? How are we going to accomplish the ultimate dir b'tachtenim? Is in Zman and in Mokem. In Zman in Chedesh Tammuz, and in Mokem in Dafke in Chatzikar Tachen. That's the place we're going to accomplish dir b'tachtenim. And it's amazing to see about the Rebbe. Everything is such a shgoche protis, in such an open way. What is the date the Rebbe says when the Moshe Rabbeinu sent the Meraglim? What is the date? The date is Chof Ches Sivan. That Chof Ches Sivan is the koyach to send the Meraglim, and when the Meraglim actually left, it's Chof Ches Sivan, Erev Chedesh Tammuz, which means that those the inyan from the Meraglim. That's the hemshech to that sicha. The hemshech to that the Rebbe spoke about this inyan from Mashiach. There was the Meridik Sicha from now we understand what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said Yemot as Gven Gdei Yisrael, who said that they'll not reingehen in Gan Eden, they're not going to Gan Eden until the Mashiach. And then there was Gdei Yisrael passed away who said it, and we see that the Mashiach didn't come. So another Godel Yisrael said the reason is because Matzegi gave him Epes, they gave him something spiritual, something ruchni, that they convinced them to stay without Mashiach. And then the Rebbe said, so what's the Eitzeh? And everyone who was by the farbrengens, Shabbos Kerach, Hey Tammuz, imagine it's Kerach Hey Tammuz. The Stalkos was Moitzor Shabbos Kerach. So Shabbos Kerach Hey Tammuz Memtes, the Rebbe said by the farbrengen, as what is the ultimate Eitzeh? To make a neder al das Rabbim. To make a neder, to make a vow al das Rabbim. And Memele, such a neder, nobody could nullify it, because the Rabbim, only the Rabbim could nullify it. And even if you find one or two, you'll convince them to nullify it, but the whole Rabbim will not allow it. So that's the ultimate eitzeh for that. And it was a very strange, everyone remembers how the Rebbe said it in a very serious way, and nobody understood what it meant. Only after Gimel Tammuz, people understood what it meant. But upon him to wrap it up, the Nekudah was we see from that Sikha, when you think about it, why Takech of Ches Sivan was such a Yom Tev that came milamata l'mayla. The Rebbe never said a word about it. And only after 3 years that the Chassidim did it, the Rebbe accepted it. And then when the Rebbe accepted it, he accepted it full shturim. And what did he say? What is Chof Ches Sivan? As the Kayach from the Daitcha. And that's when you think about it, this is the Nekudah from Gimel Tammuz, because the ganze Nekudah from Gimel Tammuz is a der inyan from the Chol Daitcha. That's the Nekudah from Gimel Tammuz, because we all know at the inyan from Gimel Tammuz is the Chazach that the Rebbe, without the Askama from Rebbe, it would not have happened. So when we think about the Gimel Tammuz, we have to remember at the inyan from Chof Ches Sivan that came before Gimel Tammuz gives us the Kayach to understand at the inyan from Gimel Tammuz is nicht stam a inyan, das is a inyan from the, everyone knows that in Tov Shemem Aleph, the Rebbe started with Tzivis Hashem. And Sukkot Mem Aleph, the Rebbe started with the organization of Tzivis Hashem. And then later on, Hanukkah, Rabbi Hecht, the first time presented to the Rebbe the nigun from We Want Mashiach Now. And immediately after this nigun, the Rebbe said a whole sicha about the for Mashiach. And the Rebbe said that right away, there'll be those who will come complaining why we're saying about Mashiach and the whole thing. And then the Rebbe and the Rebbe started the whole thing that the B'chal Tzivis Hashem have the commander-in-chief has a special joyous every tkufa. And what is the Roy now from the commander-in-chief? The Roy now is to bring Mashiach. Let's start at Tzivis Hashem. That year, Tov Shemem Aleph, the Rebbe said, "Amayim Bosel Legani." And we all know that Bosel Legani was a very unique mimer, not like every other mimer. Most of the Ghana Rebbe mentioned all the Rabbeim. Bechal Yud Shvat, beim Rebbe given a special Zman. Every Yud Shvat was a naye inyan. There was a Moshel Yud Shvat Shechov. The Rebbe said he'll not do again Siddur Kedushin. Every Yud Shvat was beim Rebbe. And once I heard from Rabbi Levitin that he spoke to Rabbi Chodakov. Later we'll hear from him more. That Rabbi Chodakov said to him about, I give us an inyan. Let's wait till Yud Shvat, because Yud Shvat there is always new inyanim from Rebbe. So Yud Shvat was a special. So that Yud Shvat, Tov Shem Aleph, the year the Rebbe started with Tzivis Hashem, which is really the year when all the inyan from Mashiach started in the biggest shturim from all the mems, and later going to the nuns. The shturim, the campaign for Mashiach started with Tzivis Hashem, and we want Mashiach now. That mimer, Bosed Ganim Mem Aleph, is a very fundamental mimer, which could give us a all different perspective of Gimel Tammuz. The Rebbe says in the mimer, the moshel, Perek Yudalef from Friedrich Rebbe, the moshel, the parable about the Melech who was going to war. And there is the Eitzres, the treasures, that he doesn't show to anybody, he doesn't give it away to nothing. And only when it comes to a war, and the Rebbe says that a Melech, every person when he has a war, he wants to win the debate, he wants to win the war, and he goes all the way. But b'miyuchad by a sar, or b'miyuchad by a king, that as more important the melech is, as more powerful the person is, as more powerful it's going to be that he is going to stem it akshanes to win the debate. By a king, and the Rebbe said, because by a melech is the rotz and the alien, so he's going on the milchome till the end. And then that's when the melech is willing to be mimbazbez the eitzes, to give away all of his treasures. And then the Rebbe goes to the next part, which usually the Rebbe doesn't speak about. That if after the Melech is spending all the eitzres, all the treasures, and still he didn't win the war yet, what is the next step? What is the final step the Melech is willing to do? So the Rebbe says, Mashli chayev meneged. That is, the Melech is willing to throw his life away to win the war. And then the Rebbe goes in all arichas, that the Melech is willing to give away his chayev agluim, his revealed life, because what's negate to the Melech in his etzem, in his atzmus mehus, is negate to him that he should win, that his will should be durgeführt, that his rotzen should be fulfilled. That's negates the Melech and atzmus mehus, that he's willing to throw his revealed life. And the Rebbe said, just like a soldier who goes to war. Now, Rahman and now we know in Israel what's happening. What does a soldier say? A soldier is willing to give away his life because the commander-in-chief and the country and the nation should win the war. So the soldier gives his life begashmis away. So the Rebbe said the same thing is by a melech, that the king, when he goes to war, if it still didn't win the war yet, the next step, the final step is Mashli Chayev Meneged, is willing to give away his revealed life, because his atzmus meus is that his rotzen should be in the sky and should be fulfilled. Then the Rebbe is mamshich, and that's the reason why in Malchus bis David is Malchus Nitzchis, because it says Va'netzach Zebin Yerushalayim, that Malchus bis David comes from Nitzchius, from Midas HaNetzach. And the Rebbe says that the reason is because David HaMelech Ikim Eila Shel Tshuva, he had Kabbalah Seil, not like Shaul HaMelech, which was Betam V'Daz, but he was with Kabbalah Seil. He went to war for the way the Eibishter told them. And therefore, by Malchus bis David is Nitzchi, because it comes from the same place of Netzach Yisrael, Lei Shaker v'Lei Nochem. And the Rebbe brings the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe Marash is asking, how could it be about the Eibishter Netzach Yisrael? The Eibishter is nobody fights him. Who could fight the Eibishter? And the Rebbe Marash answers as Netzach Yisrael, as when someone fights the Yidden, is Lemailo becomes the Midas HaNetzach, and the Eibishter goes all the way to win the war. So this Nekuda of what is the inner for the Milchome, when you think about it, the ganze Sache Tzchongim and Tovshem Emalav, the ganze campaign for Moshiach, year after year after year, and then it started the Mishpat. And when it started the Mishpat, when we saw the way the Rebbe reacted to the court case, nobody even understood to what extent it was. When Aguch came to the Rebbe to ask for a pshora, to make a compromise, the Rebbe was saying it's a milchoma from Binkel. It was not just about the fact that someone stole the books. It was a war the Rebbe looking at. And not some a war. When you see the famous video when the Rebbe started to speak about the Mishpat on Chanukah Tovshim and Vov, when the Rebbe said to the kids to sing the Nigun of Faratzto, and you see the Tnuas there, it's more than we ever saw by Akofes. And it's because this was like the beginning that the Rebbe fought the Ruchnisdike war against the Kitrun. And you could see it's a true war. The Rebbe once said by Maimer, Yidalef Nisim and Beis, as when he gets it, Mitzrayim, that why is it that we have to, when Mashiach will come, why we have to remember the inyan from Mesa Mashiach. When Mashiach will come, why we have to remember Mitzrayim Aren Iflois, why when Mashiach will come, we will have to remember also Yitzias Mitzrayim. The man Tisker, Lovi Mesa Mashiach, the Nisim from Mashiach will be crazy Nisim. What do we need to care about what happened in Mitzrayim? And the Rebbe answers, the reason for it is because the Rebbe brings the Maimer HaHilula, and the Rebbe says that without a war, the king does not give away the Eitzah. So even when Moshiach comes, La'osid Lovei, the Gili from the ultimate Eitzah will be only thanks to the Yitzias Mitzrayim, thanks to the Golos, thanks to Iskafia, thanks to the war. And the Rebbe explained, what is the treasure? The Rebbe said, Akal b'dei Shamayim chutz mir Shamayim. That the treasure that the Eibishter gives, what is the treasure? That there is a treasure which is not a filu b'dei Shamayim, it's hecher for b'dei Shamayim. It's all only in Atzmos. And what is the treasure? That's ira, it's beishes, that a Yid has ira Elohe, that it leads him to actually do gobim sius nefesh. And when you think about it, that what happened Gimel Tammuz, the inyan from Mashli Chayiv Beneged, that the Rebbe Poshet was Mashli Chayiv Beneged in order to win the war. And therefore, when we look about it, for the last 30 years, all of a sudden we have thousands of shluchim all over the world. And you ask yourself, where were all those great Chassidim in Tavshin Yud? Why in Tavshin Yud only 5% went on shlichus? In Tavshin Chof, maybe 10% went on shlichus. In Tavshin Lamed, maybe 20% went on shlichus. In Tavshin Mems, maybe 40%. What happened after Gimel Tammuz? All of a sudden we have thousands of Chabad houses. What happened? What happened? And what happened all of a sudden? We have hundreds of thousands of people come to the Binyanei Humanitas Kislev to learn Chassidus. And we have the Mighty Soil. This year we see how every Jewish magazine wrote about the Rebbe for the Shleishim Shana, for Gimel Tammuz. What happened? But the answer is very simple. The Rebbe says clearly, Abishas Mashli Chayiv Meneged, when the Rebbe throws his life, what is happening is Megale the Eitzer, Megale the Keach of Ire, the Keach of Mesirus Nefesh, the Yichide from every Chassid. And that's why all of a sudden there is such a power that's going on, that Lubavitch is all over the world. And Lubavitch is successful. We see the Meifsin that we see from Rebbe. That's all the inner from Chaim Meneged. So that's the Nekuda. When we think about Chof Ches Sivan, as Chof Ches Sivan is giving the Keach from Lechol Daitcha, that the Rebbe said clearly, Chof Ches Sivan on Aleph, the Rebbe said, Behemshuk to Sikh of Chof Ches Nissen, the Rebbe said, as Mashiach is waiting, the participation of every Jew, that every Jew should ask and should demand and should want to, at Lechol Daitcha, that we should have the tainuk, that we should feel truly liberated from Mashiach, not just because the Rebbe tells us to say that, to repeat after him, but to really live with that, to understand and feel for that. Therefore, the Rebbe is all learning Mashiach, to understand what it's all about. That Nekudah from Mashiach Chaim Meneged gives us the understanding what is Gimel Tammuz, that the Rebbe went all the way on the war to bring Mashiach, and the war is all the way completely to bring Mashiach, and therefore it's in our hands. The Rebbe says clearly, Chof Ches Nissen, and the Rebbe said Purim Mem Zayin, the same Nekudah. As Ben Zitzachon gave the last 2 years, how that became closer to Mashiach, and closer to the Shleimus from Dire B'Tachtenim, from the Shleimus from Der Shvi, the Rebbe went all the way, and therefore there was the war of the Milchama from Mishpet, and later was Chabei Shvat, and later the Rebbe spoke about the Chof Ches Nissen Sicha. All those things were one hemshech. It's not like separate things. It's all one emshech. It's all the same nekuda that the Rebbe wanted to accomplish in the world. That to iberkern ganze lamaze, and therefore dafke, the dir betraining comes dafke from Chatzikala Tachten, from here, as the Rebbe said. And with that I conclude. The Rebbe said Chof Ches Sivan Tovshin and Aleph. The Rebbe said that Neside Reinu Monton Firt Uis. That Neside Reinu demands, and he's going to accomplish that that the Gilui from Beis Hamikdash will start first in 770, and then from the Dalad HaMesir will go straight to Eretz Yisrael, because the ultimate Gilui Lekus, where is it going to be? The Gilui Mashiach, Dafke in the Tachten She'ein Tachten Mat Menuf, because of him, we pick up the whole building. L'chaim, l'chaim. Nu, Rabbi, Litvin, Chassidishe Nign. Rabbi Litvin. Chaim, Rabbi Levitin. Rabbi Levitin. Nu, zog l'chaim, Rebbe and Farbrengen. Can you open up his, unmute him? Is Rabbi Goldschmidt around? Rabbi Label all time? We have a few other speakers. I can see them. Rabbi Levitin, nu? Unmute yourself. Litvin, can you open them up for him? No, Rabbi Levitin, what's the problem? You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Amel. Lechol daitcha, to Alain, no? Rabbi Levitin, no? Oh,
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, now we could hear you.
The dog's so good, Jot, because I'm Amshach. En even members, de dog
Ja, ik weet.
Ik weet
Dank Chaim.
dat je weet.
Dank Chaim, Rabbi Levitin, no? Ich habe gesagt, das ist abfragen, no?
Wat is dat dokter gedacht van hem? Dat wat afstellen.
No. Dank Chaim.
Chaim. We hebben taken niet gewusst van Chof Ches. In de Chof dat men niet gewusst.
Man hat gewusst in Ayem Yem, als 7th of Shenala, der Rebbe came to America, aber sie gestanden in 7th of Shenala, es ist nicht gestanden an Tag.
Niet gedaan.
Das ist auch mal gewesen Ayem Yem, 7th of Shenala.
Weet je, ze hebben Vaad Or Vechom Hahiskashrus. No. Dingen hebben ze niet in Joske, no?
Anigen? Gut, noch Anigen. Rabbi Litvin. You'll give Anigen? Rabbi Litvin.
Dat heb ze. Goed, Rabbi Kantor do. Rabbi Kantor.
Alles sind da.
Huh?
Alle sind da, warte. Ich habe gesagt, Chassidische Nigen. Noch ein Mamschich sein. Nu. Aber Litvin, ist noch Chassidische Nigen. I see he fell asleep, so we'll continue. All right, L'chaim. Is Goldschmidt here? No, Goldschmidt is not here. Okay, L'chaim. Chaim.
Chaim.
Just to say one more word about Chof Ches Sivan. Everyone knows that when the Bochum went to Russia, so lately, a year ago, they found a zettel. They found that zettel was the Rebbe geantwortet to people from the community in Kherson, and it was never given to them. It was in Nunalef, because probably it was a letter they wrote in Russian to the Rebbe. When the Rebbe geantwortet of the zettel, probably nobody knew what to read. So lepel so Nunalef. So it's verlegt ergens, and it was laying there for 30 years. And there were two bochim who went to Kherson to do to Russia. They came back, and the head of the communities sent a letter to the Rebbe to thank him for what the bochim did and everything. So the Rebbe answered, and the Rebbe answered to one part of the answer was to the bochim. And the Rebbe wrote to them, Shuaschein Meroish, Imiyu Amemutza Mechaber. The Rebbe writes to the Bochum in Tovshin and Aleph. Shuaschein Meroish, Imiyu Amemutza Mechaber. That they should be taking care of the people in Kherson, but the Loshen the Rebbe was using is a unbelievable Loshen. The last farbrengen that the Rebbe spoke is given durch Vayakel nun Beis, and in that farbrengen, so the Rebbe given Vayakel. Dann given ein Loshen, a meredike Loshen, was there is a few anoches, but one anoche, one of the Techen Kotzer has that Loshen. The Rebbe said, what is Vayakel? As medaf makel zayin ali, every Jew, the Rebbe spoke about the mission, our mission is, the shlichus is to be makil every Jew. Then there was a line that I don't remember personally ever the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said a loshen, and that's why it was so unusual that in each anocha they want to explain it differently. But in that anocha, the Rebbe is like this. But that makes sense to me. That's what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said, as darf wissen, as mir los kenem nicht auf hefker. That our mission as shluchim, as chassidim, that we don't leave anybody on hefker, that we don't be mafkir any Jew, that every Jew needs to be we need to take responsibility for every Jew. We lost kenmish of hefker. That's a lotion. We don't leave anybody on hefker. And what's interesting about it is that this was the last farbrengen. Was madoch mit der lotion as mashu eise emeli so lasis mashemeli so lasu eise. And the Rebbe is telling us, Amidaf Gedenken, Vayakel and Beis, the Rebbe is telling us that he is demanding from us not to leave every Jew on Hefker, that the Rebbe tells us he doesn't leave us on Hefker. And when the Rebbe says to Bochum that he's taking them, that they should be the Memutza Mechaber, with Mutza Mechaber Tishin Rebbe, with those people in Kherson, Shuaschein Meroish, we have to understand that the Rebbe Mamish prepared us for the meaning from Gimel Tammuz. Everyone knows that Tovshin and Aleph was a farbrengen, Kinus HaShluchim. By that farbrengen, the Rebbe spoke about something that he already asked for a few months, and the Indian was not niskayim. The Rebbe was asking to make the Sefer HaShluchim, that we all know the Sefer HaShluchim, the pictures of all the Shluchim. And in the beginning, nobody understood exactly what the Rebbe meant, to what extent, and so on. Es hat sich geschleppt. Und der Rebbe sagt bei der Farbrengen, als man macht von der Iker a Toffel, von der Toffel a Iker. And what is the Iker? The Rebbe says, to make a book, Sefer HaShluchim, that's the Iker. And in that the Rebbe says, to put the pictures even of the little babies from the Shluchim. And what's the purpose of it, the Rebbe says? That when they will grow up, they'll see their picture in the Sefer HaShluchim, they'll want to be Shluchim like their parents. In that Farbrengen, the Rebbe also mentioned what he spoke the Shabbos before. The Rebbe spoke about Parshas Teildes. Then Parshas Teildes, we say, Ele Teildes Yitzchak ben Avrom, Avrom Ele Yitzchak. As Rashi says, the cluster ponim shel Avrom was the same thing like shel Yitzchak. The same cluster ponim, that Avrom looked, the Yitzchak looked exactly like Avrom. The Rebbe said, what is the Yeroi from them? And it's also unusual, the Rebbe speak about in Tovshin and Aleph, that when it comes to Chassidim, a Chassid has to know that his mission is that his child should look exactly like him. And the only difference is that he has a white beard and his son has a black beard. But the son and father look exactly the same Chassidim. And that was Beshayches to them Sefer HaShluchim that the Rebbe said that he wants, and Ad Kei Kach, the Sefer HaShluchim was such a chshivas, that Rabbi Krinsky gave in the first proofs of the Sefer HaShluchim in Tammuz and Aleph. The Rebbe wrote, when you see the proofs, you could see as the chshivas of it, Shemul, Tehilul, Tiferes, and how important it is that Sefer HaShluchim and what Hashpor is going to have. So you could see how the Rebbe Poshet clearly prepared us and told us clearly what he has in mind and what he wants from us, what's our mission about the future. As the Rebbe clearly said when he gets to Sefer HaShluchim, and when he gets to what Chassidim should be mechanas their children, that there is the nekuda. The Rebbe always say by Yichidas Shluchim, the nekuda apnim is a Chassidishe nachas from kinder. So that nekuda of mechanas and kinder with the emissaries kashes from Rebbe is a yisaid. It's the most important thing that we have to. That's our responsibility. So when it comes to Chof Ches Sivan, those are talk from Keach in Tammuz, in the day Rashvi. So we have to remember that the Adrabe, do Eibzachon, the Remesel Daitcho, the true Avede of Mekasha Zayin, the Chassidim, our own children, our grandchildren, and all every Yid. And therefore we see now that the Meifsim that we see from Rebbe now is Shalei Be'erech that used to be before. There was a Farbrengen from Leil Simchas Torah Tovshim Memvov. So Bavusta Farbrengen that the Rebbe dedicated the whole Farbrengen to two inyonim, to Shluchim and to Mashiach. I remember how when they used to sell the sichas after Simchas Torah, they would call it the Mashiach Sicha. It was a very, very famous Sicha about Mashiach that the Rebbe spoke in Leil Simchas Torah Memvov. The Sicha the Rebbe said, "Als ich verribel nicht oben." Rebbe said, as Nesi Dereinu Mashiach Shebedereinu, and the Rebbe said, what Mashiach is that he is Mashuach, and then I will not be upset if they'll say Kipshutei as Mashiach is Mashiach Kipshutei. It was a very famous sikh about Mashiach. But the Aschole from the Farbrengen was about Shluchim. The Rebbe started Farbrengen that since Simchas Torah, the Shluchim should say Chaim. And then he said, and those who have a sofek if they're shluchim, they should also say l'chaim, because the only reason why they have a sofek is because it's a molek, and the whole purpose why it's a sofek if it's a shliach is you should throw out the sofek, because every yid in this door is a shliach from the Sidereno. So Mele, if he's even a sofek, why the machshove came to him, because he's stuck a shliach, and the only reason why he's a sofek is because it's a molek. He should throw that molek out. And then the Rebbe spoke about the famous line, "A shliach is begematri Mashiach." That if you take shliach with the eser keiches, because shliach alone is missing 10. Mashiach is as shliach and Mashiach are the same words. Well, this is a lamed and mem. It's a 10 missing. The Rebbe said a shliach with his eser keiches, when a shliach does his mission with all of his eser keiches, is begematri Mashiach. And then there's the all Farbrengen, and in that Farbrengen, the Rebbe said, as where do a shliach takes the koyach to do his shlichus? So the Rebbe said, "B'shas hashliach remembers what it says in Shachat Vayimune, as the Eibush will give out all of Birtzene to livre Israel midas adin, and shitefim midas arachmim. What is midas arachmim? The Rebbe says that the tzaddikim uneis meifsi shebeteira. So the Rebbe said, b'shas ashliach remembers the meifsim that he saw from the Rebbe. That gives them the chizuk, the strength to go on shlichus and to mamshet on shlichus. And the Rebbe said, in what happens if a shliach forgets the meifsim? Is be'emes ein shikha lifnei kisei kvedecha, that in dagat from kisei kvedecha there's no shikha, only lifnei under kisei kvedecha there is shikha, above that there's no shikha. But mele be'emes the shliach always remembers the meifsim. No posher forget, so therefore he has to remind himself of the meifsim. So the Rebbe says that an unusual lotion as the keches that a shliach gets to do his shliches, he remembers the meifsim and he repeats the meifsim that he saw from Rebbe. So I'll just share with you a meifes, an interesting meifes. First a meifes from Far Gimel Tammuz, a meifes after Gimel Tammuz. As the Rebbe sagt beferish, you all know that there was a conversation that in Tofish Tzadik Beis, there was the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote a letter that he printed in Atomim. It was a letter from Tofish Tzadik Beis, from Yitzchak Tzadik Beis, or Yitzchak, I don't remember the exact date. A letter that the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote an old letter to Atomim about the chiluk between Peil and Chabad, between Chassidus Peil and Chassidus Chabad. Chassidus Chabad is not about meifsim, and it's about limud and askola and aveda and everything. And Chassidus Peilin is about meifsim. And the Frierdiker Rebbe writes there, Chabad used to say, as Eises and meifsim, ba'atmas b'nei chom, that belongs to b'nei chom. By Eden, by Chassidim, we don't need meifsim. And the Frierdiker Rebbe writes, later this Galgav on the letter, the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote to the Rebbetzin that he wanted to send a letter to Atomim, but he was looking for an address, so he sent it to the Rebbe. But really it was just to be printed in Atomim. That's he writes in a letter to the Rebbetzin. However, the Rebbe took the letter, and the Rebbe responded to this letter. And it's such an unusual response. Side we have the Ksavet Kedesh from the Rebbe's letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe. Side we have what the Rebbe wrote to himself in the Reshimes, and there is additions that the Rebbe wrote to himself on this letter, but he didn't send the Frierdiker Rebbe. But he wrote to himself. And this is an unusual letter. And the Rebbe writes in that letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe that he thanks him for sending him this kind of letters, b'da'arum from Chassidus. And then the Rebbe says, but he gets what you wrote about meifsim. So the Rebbe says, that is good in the erste Deres from Chassidim. But b'shas we are in a matzav today, where Malchus became minus, and science is trying to prove that there's no neshama and there's no lakus. And everything is only the goof and only the energy from the body, v'chulu v'chulu. So in a matzav like this, Chassidus is too idle instrument to start with a Jew. And what we have to do, the Rebbe says to the Frierdiker Rebbe, we have to do a meifes. And when you do a meifes, you shake him up. And then you prove to him that there is a lakus. And then you can teach him Chassidus. And in the additions to the Rebbe wrote to himself, there is one line the Rebbe writes to himself, and it goes like this: is the mission of a Rebbe of Chabad only to teach Chassidus and not to do meifsim? Question mark. That Rebbe writes to himself. Now, what's interesting, that there was a Farbrengen once in the Lametz, and the Rebbe spoke about something which nobody understood b'shaitei until the Reshimas came out. The Rebbe said, Sie gewinnen amol einer, das ist der Loschen. Wenn amol einer, was gemont von Rebbe dem Schwer, when it gets to meifsim, that why by Chabad we say that we don't need meifsim, when really in this generation we do need meifsim. That the Rebbe said, einer amol gemont von Rebbe dem Schwer. And then the Rebbe says, and Kriyadua, the entire life of the Rebbe the Shver, from when he became sick in the Tzaddiks, was one big meifes. That he lived, the 18 years that he lived from Tzadik Beis to Tafshin Yud was one big meifes, and the doctorim said then that they don't see how he could live, they gave him a few months. And the entire life of his, the 18 years, was one big meifes. So the Rebbe somehow connects that thing, what he wrote to the Frierdiker Rebbe back. What's funny, because when you look in the Yiddishkeit, the Frierdiker Rebbe even wrote to the Rebbetzin that he just wrote it for Atomim, and he just used the Rebbe's name as an address. And the Rebbe Lepoel wrote back to him. And then there is even the Chizoin and the Rishimis, and the Rebbe also said it in the Sichos from Shvat Tavshin Yud, that the Frierdiker Rebbe Takin Tzadik Beis, he saw the Rebbe Rasha Bachizoin, and he complained about his matzav abrius, that it's not the way he wants it. Frierdiker was Yemot, he became the MS, the paralyzation, and so the Rebbe Rashab said to him, a bissel is man allein schuldig, man sucht zu viel bedarke ateva. Binosa chayis inosa ifanim. The Frierdiker said to him, as that he's looking too much in darke ateva, and should go with derech from Meifsim. And it's at the same time of that letter, so we don't understand exactly what's going on, but we do know of the inner from Meifsim. So the Rebbe is saying the inner from Meifsim in our generation is a necessity for shluchim, for chassidim, to do their shlichas. When we speak about Meifsim, the Rebbe says that a shliach has to remember the Meifsim, and if he forgets, he has to remind him so. We have to remind each other the Meifsim, what we see from Rebbe does the Gilul Lekuz in Welt. So I'll just show to one Meifes that I heard lately about David Raskin's daughter. I know it's some people know the Meifes, but it's a Geschmack Meifes. And then a Meifes from now, from after Gimel Tammuz. So the Meifes from David Raskin's daughter is a Meredith Meifes, in my opinion. It's unusual. So basically what happened, David Raskin had a daughter. It's a Bensi, I got his name. Anyway, so David Raskin had a daughter, and she was 12 or 14 years old, and she was biking on a biking Crown Heights, and a truck smashed in on her, and Mamesh, she at the ganze zerklappt, and she went into a coma. She was a clinical Mamesh clinical death was over, and they took her to Kings County, and the doctor said that it's over. There's nothing to talk. There's nothing to do. And he called Rabbi Groner. Rabbi Groner went into the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe said to Rabbi Groner to call Dr. Richter. Dr. Richter was a former Yid on a board, but he was a Mekurev zum Rebbe. He was actually one of the doctors also in Lamed Ches later on in the Rebbe's room. So the Rebbe said to call Dr. Richter. So Label called Dr. Richter, and he was in the middle of operation. He couldn't come. But finally, when he finished the operation, he called Rabbi Groner, and he said, listen, I have a full day. Do the Rebbe needs me right that second? He said, yeah, the Rebbe knows that you're busy, but the Rebbe needs you immediately. So he came to the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe told him that he wants him to be the doctor, become the doctor of David Raskin's daughter. So he said to the Rebbe that he's not working in Kings County. So the Rebbe said that since the doctors there gave up, so what does it carry if you will be the doctor? They anyway gave up on him. And the Rebbe told him he should go every day to the hospital. So he said to the Rebbe, even on Shabbos, the Rebbe said, yeah, every day you should go there, and you should check what's her matzav. And the one thing you should do is every day you should call her by her name. Her name was Mushka, you should call her by her name every day. And then the Rebbe said he should come back to him and report to him every day what the matzav is. He should himself come back. So he came out, and the Shas Mai said, David Raskin came to 770, and there is a copy what he wrote to the Rebbe. He wrote to the Rebbe at Zettel. Now the Zettel he wrote that from now on he gives his daughter away to the Rebbe. From now on she's the Rebbe's daughter, and that's it. And he left. So Dr. Richter came out. He told Rebbe Groner what's going on. So the next he went there. He came back. So the label said, "Should I go into the Rebbe to let the Rebbe know that you're there?" I said, "No. The Rebbe told me that he will come himself. You don't have to go in. I'll wait here till the Rebbe comes out." And he waited, and the Rebbe came out, and he came in. And the Rebbe asked him. It took a minute. The Rebbe asked him what's happening. He told the Rebbe, and he left. And that's day after day after day. He came to the Rebbe to report what's happening with her. And then after 30 days, he said the name Mushka, and she opened her eyes. And the whole hospital was going nuts. And one of the doctors called the label Groner. He said, "This is only Rabbi Schneerson could do. This is unbelievable." And there is another zettel from David Raskin. He went into Yechidus. This happened in Chiddush Order, the beginning of Order. He went into end of Order. He went into Yechidus with his son, was a bar mitzvah, or something. And he asked the Rebbe, the doctors want to do some kind of a test on a spine because she's still laying, and even though she opened her eyes, but she's still. So the Rebbe Yechidus, the Rebbe said, "Bam zum Seder wird sich in sein Shtub." That's exactly what happened. By the Seder, she came home. Then a while later, Dr. Richter, who was close to the Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe, I don't know whether the chutzpah, he said to the Rebbe, when the Rebbe told me to go and say to her the name Mushka every day, did the Rebbe knew that she'll survive? And the Rebbe said, yes. That's America. I think it's America. Maybe it's a mamisha. But Pashto is mamish atchias amesim, because I mean she wasn't a common. It was a brain was, they said it's brain dead and there was nothing to do. And dog even mamish atchias amesim was the Rebbe. We all know that there was the one farbrengen Chof Ches Sivan. We wusste farbrengen Shabbos after Pesach, and that farbrengen that's the Rebbe spoke about. The Rebbe spoke about there is Lashenis in Mishnah, in Gemara, in Avelam Abo. As there is the Lashon, sometimes we find the Rinne from Ben Elam Abo, and Yesh Chelek Lam Abo, Kol Yisrael Shem Chelek Lam Abo, and there is a Ben Elam Abo, and there is different Lashenis of Elam Abo. And the Rebbe said, the different Lashenis shows on different levels in Elam Abo. Then the Rebbe said that there is a level it says about Deira Midbo as Ein Laim Chelek Lam Abo. The Rebbe said about Chassidus, what Pshat Ein Laim Chelek Lam Abo, that they are Hecher from Abo, they don't need Elam Abo. Because they are the day of Moshe Rabbeinu, they don't even need Elam Abo. They are Hecher from Elam Abo. Fine. And then the Rebbe said, as the day from Moshe Rabbeinu was a very special day. And then the Rebbe said, as it says, as the same thing is the day as the Anshe Moshe, the day of the people from Moshe Rabbeinu, then at such a level because they are Chassidim from Moshe Rabbeinu. And here the Rebbe started to talk about what the Gemara says when he gets Rabbi Yeranossi, the Loshen. The Rebbe told the story of the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe, the famous story with Rabbi Shmuel Munkes, the Rebbe didn't say the whole story. The Rebbe just mentioned the word as Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim. The famous story from Shmuel Munkes made a mefes, and they came to the Alter Rebbe, it's Hayitochen. The Alter Rebbe said, no, it says Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim. And then the Rebbe said, then the Rebbe said, it was an amazing moment. The Rebbe, everyone knows that when the Rebbe used to speak with the farbrengens, the Rebbe used to have the hands under the table. And here the Rebbe took his hand out, and the Rebbe pointed to the Elam, and the Rebbe said, Jeder reine von euch, Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim. That's unusual. The Rebbe should point out to the Chassidim, Tov Shem Ches. This was a few months after they started to the Rebbetzin. The Rebbe pointed out and said, Jeder reine von euch, Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim. And then he said, Mechayim Meisim beruchnies, Mechayim Meisim sich und andere, v'yesh leimar eich begashmies. The Rebbe said, al derech the famous story from the Chassid, from the Tzemach Tzedek, the Tzemach Tzedek told him, trach gut v'zayin gut, but there was a Chayim Meisim bepashtot. The famous story that the Chassid of Tzemach Tzedek, and Bechol der Alter, that his son was very sick and he was crying, and Chassidim told him, why are you crying? They told him, the Rebbe didn't tell the whole story. The Rebbe just mentioned, as the Babusa vote from Trach Gut V'Zayin Gut. The Babusa story that he was crying, so the Chassidim said to him, go to Lubavitch. He said, yeah, the doctor say it's only a few hours. It's So one of the elder Chassidim said, the Malochim will keep him alive till you come to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe will decide. So he went and he gave the pidyon. And B'shas he gave the pidyon, he was thinking to himself, who knows if he's still alive? And he started crying. That Tzemach Tzedek said that he does not dance of the Einiklach chasanas. He danced at the Einiklach weddings. And Tzemach Tzedek said, "Trach gut with zayin gut." From that comes the lost story. So there it was mamish atchias amesim. The Rebbe said, "V'yeshlem echem kipshutei." So we see how the Rebbe is poshet giving us the keiches, beruchnies and begashmies, so he can develop. The Rebbe says all those inyonim that were in the last poyor, which were unusual, that the inner from the is Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim, jeder inner von Neich is Zutru de Bechum Mechayim Meisim. The Rebbe gave mishuganek mamish keiches atzmim to every one of the Chassidim in our generation, and what's needed for each one of us is to have the joyous kashrus. Later I'll tell the second story. L'chaim. Maybe Litvin is awake, he'll give us a niggin. L'chaim. No? What's going on?
hachlatos